Hey everyone, per your requests, I'm starting Soul Land 5, the Rebirth of Tang today. My channel isn't monetized, so if you're able to, please support me on PayPal to help me stay active. Chapters 501 through 520 of the previous episode. Tang San gives tournament tickets to his friends and focuses on his recovery. He consumes a celestial spirit pill, rapidly healing his severe injuries, but is shocked when Crystalline, a mysterious entity in his dantian, awakens and eats the second pill. Fully recovered, Tang San enters the arena. Seeing him completely uninjured and wielding his golden rock wings, his terrified opponent instantly forfeits. This effortless victory advances Tang San into the prestigious top 16 finals. Afterward, he shares a tender moment with Mei Gongzi and watches his ally, Big Cat, face a fierce dark devil monarch. Thank you. Now, let's get back to the story of Soul Land 5, the Rebirth of Tang San. The Dark Devil Monarch had murdered its 3 previous opponents, tearing them apart and devouring them in plain sight on the stage. If not for the Ancestral Court's belief that such opponents would stimulate the progress of young powerhouses from various clans, they would have already taken action against it. However, the Dark Devil Monarch clan had received assurances from the Ancestral Court that it would be allowed to leave safely after the competition, which was why it had to participate. Big Cat had also killed 2 opponents, although in a less deranged way. Another contestant had initially reached this stage, but due to severe injuries, it announced its withdrawal from the competition. Therefore, today's match would determine who would advance to the next round, and it was closely watched. Whoever could defeat the other would secure a spot in the final, and the loser, likely a spot in the Netherworld. Big Cat and the Dark Devil Monarch were considered among this competition's most ferocious contestants. In this clash of 2 fierce fighters, who would emerge victorious? On one side was an entity filled with a dark aura. On the other, an eruption of domineering, white-hot force. The battle hadn't even begun, and the atmosphere was already tense. Let the match begin. With the referee's announcement, this crucial match finally started. Big Cat's pupils suddenly turned into vertical slits, and in the next instant, it stomped the ground fiercely, letting out a deep roar. He shot toward the opponent like a cannonball. The Dark Devil Monarch on the opposite side emitted a black, almost viscous aura and suddenly lunged forward. Its claws extended from its fingertips like black lightning, leaving behind a string of inky shadows. It also pounced on Big Cat. The 2 sides quickly closed the distance. Just as they were about to collide, the shadows behind the Dark Devil Monarch suddenly split apart, forming 6 figures that, together with the main body, surrounded Big Cat. Each figure appeared extremely real, and in an instant, the sky was filled with flashing claw shadows. Viscous black energy streams surged up, sealing off all possible escape routes for Big Cat. Reaching this stage of the competition undoubtedly meant that this Dark Devil Monarch's bloodline was a first-tier one. The corrosive dark energy it emitted wildly expelled other elemental properties in the air, making the entire world darken. At this moment, a deafening roar resounded. Big Cat's body suddenly expanded, and he instantly transformed into a towering figure over 5 meters tall. His strong body burst out of his clothing, and dazzling platinum force erupted outward. Due to his roar, the 7 figures momentarily hesitated. Big Cat's eyes flashed with divine light the next moment, and his heavy sword swept out horizontally. This swift slash was devoid of any flashiness, but it was incredibly fast and carried unparalleled, intense force. With that lion-tiger roar, Big Cat's momentum had already peaked. This was the result of battle experience and self-control. Big Cat's bloodline power might not compare to the top-tier bloodlines of the Dragon or Phoenix clans, but he was not inferior in manipulating bloodline power. Besides his formidable strength, he had countless life and death battle experiences. Each battle could mean death, and his combat experience was nearly always gained on the brink of death. Therefore, no matter the opponent, he could maintain absolute calmness and know precisely when and how to unleash his power to the fullest. Without any reservation, his sword swept out, generating a circle of radiant platinum force. Those dark figures almost instantly disintegrated under its power, but then turned into viscous black streams that swept toward the lion-tiger golden force, seemingly trying to attach themselves directly to it. At this moment, the lion-tiger golden force burst forth with mighty platinum light. The surging black streams immediately dissipated by more than a third. They seemed to panic and instantly dissipated, regrouping not far away to form the silhouette of the Dark Devil Monarch. The next moment, Big Cat's heavy sword was raised high, and white-hot flames descended from the sky, slashing toward it like a torrent. The dark devil monarch's eyes flickered with a crimson glow as its figure flashed backward. An afterimage was shattered by the sword light, but that was all an afterimage. Big Cat's gaze sharpened. He had locked onto his opponent earlier yet still struck an afterimage. This meant the opponent could forcibly break free from the lock of his attacks. Devouring? That is interesting. The dark devil monarch's raspy voice emerged, crimson light flickering in its eyes. In the next moment, its entire body turned dark red. Behind it, a dark red halo expanded, transforming into a bloody moon, tinting everything around it dark red. As Big Cat saw the dark red hue, he felt his breath quicken and chest tighten. The follow-up attack he intended to launch came to an abrupt halt. The dark devil monarch's figure melded into the blood moon behind it. A cold, hoarse voice followed. "You're strong, worthy of my full strength. Witness the power of the blood moon monarch." The stench of blood surged abruptly, and the entire arena seemed to turn dark red. Countless anguished screams echoed from all directions, and at that moment, Big Cat seemed to see numerous souls rushing toward him from all sides. His gaze turned chaotic, and his aura became unstable. Below the stage, seeing the blood light surrounding Big Cat, Tang Sen couldn't help but frown slightly, and his gaze turned icy. "Big brother, what is this ability?" Mei Gongzi sounded more and more natural when calling Tang Sen big brother. Tang Sen said deeply, "This is a cruel and bloody ability. You can call it the Bloodstained Domain. I believe this ability requires extensive slaughter, continuously collecting blood, and enduring the curses of those whose blood was taken, forming a domain ability. Cannot be achieved without thousands of kills. Once trapped in it, the opponent will be affected by the bloody curse, which impacts the mind. Meanwhile, the Dark Devil Monarch using this domain will be stimulated by the curse, entering an even stronger state. I believe that's what he calls the Blood Moon Monarch. Such a cruel ability exists?" Mei Gongzi shivered, looking at the blood color in the stands and feeling the thick scent of blood, suddenly feeling a bit suffocated. Tang Sen raised his hand to block her view. "Don't look, and don't try to sense it. This Dark Devil Monarch deserves to die. And if their entire clan cultivates this way, they all deserve to die. They won't have a good end, either. Cultivating this bloodstained domain requires constant killing, devouring blood, and increasing the power of the resentment curse. This makes them very powerful, but it also makes them susceptible to backlash. Because it goes against the natural order, I suspect it's extremely difficult for their clan to become gods. The heavenly tribulations they face must be immensely powerful and terrifying. And if one does overcome the tribulation, it won't become a god but a divine devil. To think the ancestral court allows such beings to exist. Are they unafraid of the emergence of a divine devil whose sole purpose in existence is to destroy everything?" Tang Sen gently shook his head and frowned. "I don't know." Here, he couldn't interfere with the match. Countless demon kings and great demon kings were watching. If he used his divine consciousness to interfere and got caught, it would be a huge problem. This bloodstained domain was extremely difficult to cultivate, but its power was immense. Whether Big Cat could win within this domain depended entirely on himself. At this moment, Big Cat's mind had already become confused within the bloodstained domain. Countless piercing screams reminded him of every single opponent who had died under his sword. He could see them. They had all turned into vengeful spirits and were pouncing toward him, trying to exact revenge. Big Cat swung his heavy sword forcefully, sending out waves of strong sword energy, trying to disperse these vengeful spirits. But the more he did this, the more he felt that wraiths were pouncing on him. The bloody aura around him grew even denser. Big Cat suddenly turned around, his heavy sword fiercely slashing into a pair of blood-red claws. Then he staggered back from the force of the clash, and the immense power, accompanied by an overwhelmingly bloody aura, began to erode his body. 5 claw marks appeared on his back. The opponent's claws had brutally torn through the defense of his lion-tiger golden force. The corrosive aura that gave off an intense bloody scent drilled into his body, wreaking mad havoc and causing Big Cat to groan. The lion-tiger golden force protecting him became chaotic. The most formidable aspect of the bloodstained domain was its weakening effect on both mind and body. Within this domain, the Blood Moon Monarch, whose entire body had now turned blood red, grew increasingly powerful, while the opponent grew weaker by the minute. The monarch licked the tip of its claws. "Ha ha! This scorching blood is the sweetest I've had." Merge into my domain and become a part of it. This will make my domain even stronger. It's your honor. Its voice was filled with evil. A brilliant sword aura flashed in an instant, but what greeted it was a blood-colored wave. The sword aura unfolded in a blood-red light, but the Blood Moon Monarch had already disappeared without a trace. Big Cat's gaze grew even fiercer, and the wailing of the vengeful spirits in his ears became increasingly piercing. His chest heaved violently, and his brows were filled with a look of struggle. His spirit seemed on the verge of collapsing at any moment. But at this moment, he grasped his sword hilt with both hands, reversed the heavy sword, and thrust it into the ground, holding the hilt tightly. The lion-tiger golden force burst outward, forming a layer of protective force that enveloped him. Sharp claws struck fiercely on the lion-tiger golden force barrier behind him, causing the barrier to sway violently. Yet it did not give out. Even in the face of such incredible force, Big Cat's all-out lion-tiger golden force was able to prevail. Meanwhile, the Blood Moon Monarch clearly felt a powerful threat from the heavy sword embedded into the ground, as if the opponent could counterattack any instant. So, after the attack, its figure quickly disappeared into the domain. But this time, Big Cat did not swing his heavy sword. He just stood there, forcibly calming himself down. At this moment, he kept asking himself a question. Why? Why do I have to kill? Why do I have to kill? Repeating the same question over and over again, he used his inner voice to repel the wails of vengeful spirits from the blood-stained domain. These wails appeared directly in his sea of consciousness, and during his constant self-questioning, he focused all his mind on the question he asked himself, ignoring the wretched howls of the vengeful spirits. This was the manifestation of battle will. Having endured countless hardships and battles, Big Cat's will could not be any firmer. Had it been someone with less experience, even if they were stronger than him, they would likely have lost themselves in the bloodstained domain by now. The terrifying aspect of this domain was that no matter how strong one was, if one's will was not firm, one would still fall into its trap. Why do I have to kill? Why do I have to kill? Big Cat kept questioning himself, as if on behalf of the vengeful spirits. Due to this, the blood-stained domain's influence on his mind weakened. This allowed Big Cat's lion-tiger golden force to flow more smoothly. Attacks came one after another, the fierce onslaught causing the lion-tiger golden force to emit incandescent halos here and there, but Big Cat remained immovable. He simply let the opponent attack him and allowed his lion-tiger golden force to deplete. The Blood Moon Monarch was somewhat surprised. It was the first time facing such an opponent. Although its bloodstained domain was active at all times and it kept attacking without pause, its energy consumption was minimal. Prolonging this battle would surely lead to the opponent's death. Yet the opponent stood there like a stone pillar, seemingly unaffected by the domain, a situation it had never encountered before. Demons generally had fierce personalities, and which one of them didn't have some hidden mental issues? And the blood-stained domain was pervasive, and it wasn't really an illusion. It was truly formed by countless vengeful spirits. Every drop of blood the Dark Devil Monarch absorbed contained the powerful resentment of the dead. That was the exact point of acquiring such a domain, in fact. For that reason, a Dark Devil Monarch always made its targets fall into absolute terror before brutally slaughtering them. The stronger the fear at the time of death, the greater the resentment after death. Under such circumstances, the power of a Dark Devil Monarch's bloodstained domain could grow almost without limit. Although this sometimes caused Dark Devil Monarchs to succumb to madness, it was considered true tempering. Only through such constant tempering could one truly become a fabled divine devil. Although Big Cat was trapped by the domain and completely passive, he remained calm and posed a threat, making it afraid to continue attacking. This was the first time it had encountered such an opponent. However, the Blood Moon Monarch had carried out countless killings and was not in a hurry. It had complete confidence in its bloodstained domain. This domain had obliterated many strong beings, some even stronger than the Blood Moon Monarch itself. The more time passed, the greater the effect of the domain. No matter how firm one's will was, they would all be affected under the roars of countless vengeful spirits. However, Big Cat even made it feel some admiration and greed in this state. Admiration for his firm will and greed because as the blood-stained domain absorbed the blood of strong beings, it would become stronger. According to the teachings of the clan, it would reach the next level when the domain contained the blood of over 10,000 beings. This required the presence of a powerful vengeful spirit as the main soul, making the domain more stable and preventing it from collapsing unto itself. Once it reached the level of sacrificing over 10,000 beings, the power of this domain would soar. This would be the foundation for its transformation into a true divine devil. In its eyes, this lion tiger was the perfect candidate to serve as the main soul of its bloodstained domain. Why do I have to kill? Why do I have to kill? Big Cat neither knew nor cared to find out the Blood Moon Monarch's thoughts. In his mind, he just kept repeating this question. Another attack landed, finally breaking a hole in the lion tiger golden force. 5 claw marks appeared once more on Big Cat's back, tearing his flesh. Blood-red light crazily invaded his body. The intense pain made Big Cat feel as if he had returned to the first kill of his life. His spirit seemed to return to that time. It was a fierce battle. His opponent was also very strong, and he was still very young. Yet the tip of his heavy sword did not drop a single millimeter, and neither did his will to fight. Even though he was already covered in wounds, his gaze remained firm. He had to win, defeat his opponent, kill him, and get the prize money. If he didn't earn the money, his clan wouldn't be able to buy the treasures needed to supplement their life force, and his clan members would die. For his kin, he had to kill his opponent. He had to achieve victory. Yes, that's why I'm doing it. I'm doing it for my kin. For Little Cat, for Sky Cat, for the entire Lion Tiger clan. To protect my own, I will kill everyone that stands in my way. If I have to become a killer, for those I love, then so be it. Suddenly, Big Cat abruptly opened his eyes, and in that instant, his eyes were filled with madness and wild abandon. The Blood Moon Monarch was preparing to attack again, and it was overjoyed at the sight. To it, this was a sign that the opponent's mind had been invaded by the domain and had completely fallen into chaos. It wasn't even in a hurry to launch an attack anymore, knowing that once the opponent's mind was in disarray, he would exhaust his bloodline through mad outbursts of power and eventually be devoured by the bloodstained domain, leading to his death. It even felt regretful that Big Cat hadn't held out a bit longer. The longer Big Cat could persist, the more qualified he would be to serve as the main soul of its domain. Kill, kill, kill. From the first kill to the third, Big Cat's deep roar gradually grew louder. The Lion Tiger Golden Force, which had been weakening under constant attack, suddenly burst out with a dazzling platinum light, but it was not the pristine color it used to have. A blood-red hue appeared within the incandescent light. Then, white and red intertwined, forming a strange pale pink. When this pale pink light erupted, a bizarre scene unfolded. The surrounding blood-colored domain began to condense madly toward Big Cat, causing his aura to swell wildly. What is this? The Blood Moon Monarch stared in astonishment at the scene, clearly sensing that its domain's power was being wildly devoured by the opponent. At the same time, its power was rapidly weakening. As the Blood Moon Monarch's domain was devoured by Big Cat, the blood-colored aura was absorbed into his body. At the same time, layers of black fog continuously spread outwards from his pores, as if his body was filtering the energy and expelling the impurities. The black fog churned and transformed into eerie phantoms, resembling demon faces flickering and shifting. Tang San's eyes suddenly brightened as he witnessed the scene. He seemed to understand something and could not stop himself from exclaiming, "This is... haha! Big Cat, you're amazing!" The Blood Moon Monarch grew anxious on the stage, as it could clearly feel its power being rapidly drained. It suddenly lunged forward, claws extended, attacking Big Cat with all its might. The pink force burst forth, and the powerful counterforce directly sent the Blood Moon Monarch flying. And as it flew, it felt something, felt fear for the first time. At the moment of impact, it sensed its power being drained at an even faster pace. The change was actually visible thanks to the bloodstained domain. The blood-colored aura covering the entire stage quickly grew thinner, while the black fog grew denser around Big Cat. An indescribable fear spread within it. It suddenly opened its mouth, about to shout for surrender, as the situation had clearly spiraled entirely out of control. The bloodstained domain, cultivated through relentless slaughter, was actually being absorbed by the opponent. As if sensing what it was about to do, a deep roar suddenly erupted from Big Cat's mouth, drowning out its voice of surrender. Although they could obviously see the Blood Moon Monarch trying to concede, the judges outside the arena remained unmoved. If Tang San could discern the nature of the Blood Moon Monarch's domain, how could the god-level judges fail to do so? Nearly every demon and nymph harbored deep aversion toward the Dark Demon Monarch clan. Seeing that one of them was about to get its rightful comeuppance, why would they stop the match now? Dying in the competition wouldn't be considered a breach of the Ancestral Court's promise. Then Big Cat's cold voice sounded. "I will avenge you, There is a cause for every grievance and a debtor for every debt. Go. When he opened his eyes again, they were filled with a frenzy for slaughter. The heavy sword thrust into the ground was slowly drawn out. As its tip pointed at the Blood Moon Monarch, the black fog around Big Cat emitted countless piercing screams, transforming into faces as black as ink that crazily rushed toward it. And oh, the Blood Moon Monarch howled madly. But no one could stop this from happening now. Countless black phantoms rushed into its body, causing it to swell. Bumps and boils appeared on its skin, as if many small creatures were trying to burst out from within. All the blood-colored aura surged into Big Cat's body, becoming part of the Lion-Tiger Golden Force, while the black fog merged into the Blood Moon Monarch's body, draining its life force. The pink light Big Cat radiated grew more and more vibrant, and his aura continued to soar. In that instant, his cultivation and spiritual power surged to the absolute peak of the Ninth Order, and he almost lost control. He didn't even fully understand what was happening to him. At that moment, his heart was filled with intense killing intent, and he even felt the urge to slaughter every living being around him. But then, another voice echoed in his heart, reminding him of why he needed to kill. It was not to quench his thirst for blood. It was to protect his kin, to protect his loved ones. This was his purpose for killing. Without this goal, he would not take lives. The Blood Moon Monarch's skin had lost its vibrant, bloody color, reverting to its original reddish black. Then it began to shatter, piece by piece, as if it had been corroded from the inside by the black fog. Its entire body began to melt down, turning into a pool of nauseating pitch-like liquid. Even its sea of consciousness was not spared. At this moment, Big Cat finally made his move. Fierce pink force suddenly slashed out from his heavy sword. Pink flames filled with intense killing intent swept through, engulfing the black liquid. The force turned into flames, burning the puddle. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. You have had your revenge. Now go in peace. All the ferocity and darkness gradually faded, leaving only the pervasive killing intent lingering around Big Cat. The killing intent was gradually suppressed, and the referee, who had stepped back on the stage, was in shock as he looked at Big Cat. At this moment, Big Cat felt like a volcano that could erupt at any moment. With such immense killing intent contained within, what kind of scene would it be if it exploded? Thankfully, when all the pink force re-entered Big Cat's body, his state seemed to stabilize gradually. All traces of the killing intent disappeared, except for a hint of pink remaining deep in his eyes. Only then did the referee remember to announce his victory, signaling that he would be able to participate in the finals. Now, Big Cat was the center of everyone's attention. How had he done it? How had he devoured the energy from the Blood Moon Monarch's domain? What would happen now that he had devoured it? There were no answers. Even the great Demon King powerhouses couldn't understand Big Cat's state. In any case, the fact was that he had won and was now one of the finalists. All those who had entered the top 16 had solemn expressions. This was an extremely difficult opponent. Not only had he defeated a Dark Devil Monarch in its strongest form, but it seemed that he had also absorbed some of its power, and nobody knew what impact it would have on his strength. What kind of power would he display in the upcoming finals? Big Cat slowly walked off the stage, taking each step very slowly as if he were afraid of stepping on ants. Tang San was already waiting at the exit. As Big Cat descended the final step and looked at Tang San before him, his tense body relaxed slightly. At that moment, Tang San raised his right hand and pointed at the center of Big Cat's forehead. Stay true to your heart. A cool stream of energy instantly drilled into the center of Big Cat's forehead, entering his sea of consciousness. The overwhelming killing intent in his sea of consciousness suddenly seemed to sense something and began to shrink inward, merging. It no longer disturbed Big Cat's emotions. The pink in his eyes finally started to fade. Tang San's face showed relief and even a hint of admiration as he gave him a thumbs up. Don't say anything, don't think about anything. Hold on to your inner resolve. Gather all your killing intent, and don't let it out. Try to control it. Right now. As he spoke, he nodded to Mei Gongzi. A silver light flashed from Mei Gongzi's hand, enveloping the three of them. The next moment, they were in the waiting area. Big Cat immediately sat cross-legged and began to meditate. Seeing him instantly enter a meditative state, Tang San's smile deepened. Big brother, what's wrong with him? Will he be all right? Tang San smirked. Wrong? Haha, there's nothing wrong with him. If anything, you might even say he has incredible luck. If anyone present could understand Big Cat's state, it would be Tang San. Only he fully knew what was happening, even more than Big Cat himself. What was Big Cat's life like? He had fought in the Great Beast fighting arena in Cali City for many years, killing countless opponents and engaging in countless battles. Naturally, he had come to possess a strong killing intent. This killing intent itself was a part of his power, a type of spiritual pressure. If two opponents of equal abilities and strength face off, the seasoned killer will almost invariably win. Such is the power of killing intent. Killing intent makes one more fearless, unrestrained, and aggressive in battle. It's an important part of momentum, making attacks more ferocious. To put it simply, the fearless win the fight, and killing intent is a crucial factor in this. The killing intent within Big Cat was undoubtedly strong, and more importantly, his acts of killing had meaning in his heart. He was not a wanton murderer. His actions were for the survival of his clan and the improvement of his people's lives. Thus, despite having intense killing intent, he was never controlled by it. Only someone could acquire the title of Sword Saint. In today's battle, he faced the Dark Devil Monarch in its strongest form, the Blood Moon Monarch. The Blood Moon Monarch's power also came from killing, but it killed for the sake of killing. It thoroughly enjoyed slaughter, and as far as purpose was concerned, its only purpose was to use the resentment of those it murdered to increase the power of its bloody aura. The bloody aura generated by negative emotions was the core of its bloodstained domain. While trapped within the bloodstained domain, Big Cat constantly reinforced his will, reminding himself why he killed, so as not to be influenced by the negative emotions within the domain. And the reason it worked was that while he was indeed a killer, these negative emotions were entirely foreign to him. As his body came close to collapsing, but his spirit was still fighting, a strange state emerged. The Lion-Tiger Golden Force actively devoured the killing aura while rejecting all negative emotions and energies. This caused the bloodstained domain to split. The core killing aura merged into Big Cat's body, becoming a part of his power. This was why Big Cat was filled with killing intent. The energy contained within this killing intent further propelled his power's evolution. The other negative emotions, out of control, backfired on the Blood Moon Monarch, leading to the subsequent tragedy. The various negative energies remaining within Big Cat were incinerated by his killing intent and the Lion-Tiger Golden Force. And once the Blood Moon Monarch died, the resentment left behind by those it had killed was resolved and thus dissipated. Their souls were finally at rest. And this was how Big Cat won the match. Not only that, but he absorbed a killing aura far greater than what he originally possessed. This killing aura condensed within him, becoming pure killing intent. But because he had always stayed true to his heart and maintained a firm will, despite the massive killing aura, he did not allow it to control him. His slow movements were due to his constant effort to control himself, to avoid being overwhelmed by the killing aura and descending into madness. Once out of control, it would be truly troublesome, and he would lose himself. Tang San's relief and joy were due to Big Cat's pure killing intent and firm will. This had allowed Big Cat to unconsciously cultivate an ability Tang San himself possessed in his past life. Though it might not compare to a God King's ability, for a warrior like Big Cat, this ability was extremely precious and would elevate him further, allowing him to truly stand at the pinnacle of his level. This ability was called the God-Killing Domain. Sensing Big Cat's withdrawn killing aura, the corners of Tang San's mouth curved up slightly. When Big Cat was merging with the killing aura, Tang San gained some insight as well. He used his divine consciousness to help Big Cat guide the killing aura down the right path, ultimately integrating it into his own power. At the same time, this killing intent ignited the domain aura sealed within Tang San's divine consciousness, allowing his reborn body in this world to gradually comprehend the God-killing domain. Big Cat's firm killing intent was centered on protection. But wasn't Tang San also protecting something? Subconsciously, he looked at the beautiful person beside him, his gaze growing even more tender. If the whole world threatens her, I will fight the whole world. Mei Gongzi was observing the meditating Big Cat and didn't notice the change in Tang San's gaze. She said, "How do you know everything?" Tang San smiled slightly and said, "I read a lot of books." The end of this match undoubtedly elevated Big Cat's status in the individual competition, making him even more famous. However, due to his absorption of the bloodstained domain's power, there was now an element of unpredictability. For that reason, although he had advanced, no envoys came forward to interact with him. They wanted to see if Big Cat could compete normally in the next round, especially in the finals. Meanwhile, the competition continued, and next up was Mei Gongzi's turn. Only a few matches were left until the finals. "Are you ready?" Tang San asked her. Mei Gongzi lifted her chin slightly, in a somewhat arrogant display, and smirked. Of course, her eyes were filled with a desire to fight. Azura and Big Cat had won their matches against very strong opponents, and it was her turn next. How could she let them steal all the glory? Although she had another opponent to face after this, 2 matches in total to enter the finals, she was confident in herself. Tang San nodded at her. Good luck, and safety first. Big Cat was at a critical moment, and Tang San couldn't leave his side. So Mei Gongzi went to the waiting area alone to prepare for her match. Today's matches were all very exciting and even brutal. There had already been instances of mutual destruction. Those who had to buy this round and would compete in the next actually hoped to see such situations. They could advance to the finals without even having to fight. What a wonderful thing that would be. Mei Gongzi stood calmly in the waiting area, waiting for her turn. Her heart gradually stabilized, her fighting spirit was strong, but she became increasingly calm. Her companion's strength was great motivation for her. She had a competitive nature from the get-go, and she had no intention of letting Tang San and Big Cat steal the show. They had already advanced to the finals. Now it was her turn. The referee's voice rang out, and Mei Gongzi's eyes brightened. She took long strides toward the stage. And although Tang San stayed by Big Cat's side, his heart ascended the stage with Mei Gongzi. Mei Gongzi's eyes narrowed slightly as she looked at her opponent on the other side. Her final match would be against a nymph, but this opponent was another demon. And just looking at her made Mei Gongzi's pupils contract slightly. It was a woman with a delicate and beautiful appearance, yet exuding a cold aura. She looked 3 or 4 years older than Mei Gongzi, and she was dressed in a white long dress, giving off a feeling as cold as snow. What Mei Gongzi hadn't told Tang San was that this opponent was her strongest competitor in their group. She was also a member of the Phoenix race, but was a representative of the Ice Phoenix clan, not the Undying Demon Emperor's lineage. The Ice Phoenix clan was not as famous as the Immortal Flame Phoenix clan within the Empyrean Dominion, nor were they as powerful. The Undying Demon Emperor came from the Immortal Flame Phoenix line, while the Ice Phoenix clan neither had an emperor now, nor had they ever produced one in the entire history of the clan. But this did not mean the Ice Phoenix clan was weak. They were one of the few clans recognized as having a first-tier bloodline despite never having had a demon emperor rise from among their ranks. They were known for their ability to freeze the world 10,000 kilometers around them, and even though they had the same attribute and similar abilities, their power and reputation were far above the Ice Maiden clan. They were favored by the ice element and naturally at odds with the Immortal Flame Phoenix lineage. The Immortal Flame Phoenixes were powerful and had the support of an emperor, and they suppressed the Ice Phoenix clan, causing them to decline. However, being of the same Phoenix race, the Immortal Flame Phoenixes did not completely annihilate them. The Ice Phoenix warrior before Mei Gongzi was the best of this generation, and she was known as the Ice Angel. She had defeated many strong opponents to reach this point. This match, while not the last of Group 9, was the decisive one in terms of strength. The other contestant was a nymph who had to buy this round and was nowhere near as strong, in terms of bloodline or individual power, as Mei Gongzi and the Ice Angel. Of course, this was assuming they didn't both end up severely injured. With the referee's command, the battle officially began. The Ice Angel radiated a crystalline glow, and a pair of snow-white wings unfolded behind her. As the wings spread, an overwhelming cold erupted from her, and a blizzard instantly enveloped the entire area. She had clearly studied Mei Gongzi. Mei Gongzi had simply dominated every previous match, and in the last doubles match, she and Tang San defeated the Dragon Phoenix pair, astonishing all the spectators. Knowing the Peacock Demon clan's mastery over space, she wasted no time, using her powerful area control ability from the start, willing to expend significant energy to seize the initiative. Each snowflake in the blizzard was filled with immense power. No matter where Mei Gongzi teleported, she would face the brunt of the blizzard. Mei Gongzi calmly grasped the celestial plume in her right hand and walked step by step toward her opponent. A faint silver halo rippled around her. The blizzard's coverage area expanded, sweeping toward her. But then, a strange scene unfolded. As the blizzard entered the range of the silver halo around her, it simply vanished, leaving no trace behind. It was as if she and the blizzard were part of 2 different worlds. She continued to move forward without any pause. Every step brought her closer to her opponent, and no matter how fierce the blizzard became, it would silently disappear once it entered the silver glow. In the VIP stands, the Peacock Great Demon King couldn't help but show a look of surprise at this sight. He was certain that before following him here, Mei Gongzi's understanding of spatial control had not reached this level. At this moment, she was like a gateway to another dimension. Whatever approached her would be swallowed by the space around her, unable to affect her as if she truly wasn't in this plane. And more importantly, she was doing so naturally, effortlessly. The blizzard was powerful enough that it produced slight cracks in space. But wherever Mei Gongzi passed, these small spatial cracks would heal. The silver aura around her emitted a faint glow, making her appear even more stunningly beautiful. Seeing this, a smile appeared on Tang San's face. In this life, she seemed to have a much higher level of comprehension than in her previous one. Since practicing the mysterious circles of heaven with him, her mastery and understanding of space had reached an entirely new level. It was as if he had broken through a barrier for her, allowing her to step into another world. Of course, this was also related to the item she held. Tang San knew very well how rare space attribute artifacts were. Even in a divine realm, they were extremely precious. The celestial plume was a bridge for Mei Gongzi to communicate with space. Thanks to this bridge, she had a more harmonious understanding of and interaction with space. At this moment, she seemed to have become a part of the space element, the beloved child of space. She wasn't making an effort to control space. It was as natural as breathing. The inheritance of the Peacock Demon clan was now completely integrated into her own power. This was a remarkable achievement and laid a solid foundation for her future. As Mei Gongzi approached in this state, the Ice Angel's gaze became visibly more tense. She took a deep breath, flapped her wings, and slowly rose into the air. In the next instant, her wings turned ice blue and slowly flapped forward, silently sending out countless crystalline blue lights. Each point of light seemed to contain a unique presence, like living ice, full of strange vitality. Hundreds of points of blue light spread and covered the area, freezing the surrounding space wherever they passed. This was a powerful ability of the Ice Phoenix clan, and True Zero referred to Absolute Zero. With the Ice Angel's cultivation, she couldn't achieve actual Absolute Zero, but she could at least reach 100 degrees below freezing. And in this ultra-low temperature state, the flow of all elements except for ice would slow down, including space. Each crystalline blue point was a speck of its bloodline power, equivalent to a drop of its blood. Obviously, using True Zero Ice Seal was truly draining for her. But the pressure she felt from Mei Gongzi forced her to make this choice. She didn't dare to confront her opponent head-on, as she didn't know what kind of attack Mei Gongzi might unleash if she got close. Just the day before, she had used the celestial plume to forcibly create a spatial rift amidst the wind-fire force tornado, giving her partner an opportunity. That scene had left an extremely deep impression on the Ice Angel. Although it was just a momentary spatial rift, that rift split apart a wind-fire force tornado that had behind it the full power of the Dragon Phoenix pair. At this moment, facing True Zero Ice Seal, Mei Gongzi finally stopped. Her delicate face tilted slightly upward, and the three eyes on the celestial plume in her hand emitted a silver glow. With a gentle movement of her arm, she drew a circle in the air. This was her first time using the mysterious circles of heaven in battle. Before this match, she hadn't even thought of using this divine skill taught by Azura. But for some reason, with the momentum she had built step by step, when facing the opponent's powerful attack, she almost instinctively drew this arc. The circle she drew was flawless, and everything around seemed to stir with it, making Mei Gongzi appear even more ethereal. The silver glow of the celestial plume was soft and captivating, and the silver halos seemed to be working to complete this circle. A thin layer of frost had already formed on Mei Gongzi's clothing, but the silver circle simply erased the motes of blue filling the air. It was as if they were in this world, yet at the same time they were not. The silver circle connected this world to another unknown world. It gave off an abrupt feeling, yet at the same time seemed strangely harmonious. The Ice Angel's eyes became dazed for a moment. She had never faced such a situation before. That was one of the most powerful innate abilities of the Ice Phoenix clan. How could it be cancelled out so easily? When her clan elders taught her how to use this ability, they told her that space itself should freeze under True Zero Ice Seal. How can her attack nullify my True Zero Ice Seal? Does that mean her elemental control surpasses mine? But how's that possible? There hasn't been a demon emperor in the Peacock Demon clan for a long time, so her bloodline shouldn't be. While these thoughts flashed through her mind in just an instant, Mei Gongzi had already drawn closer. The usage of True Zero Ice Seal resulted in the Ice Angel's blizzard weakening instantly, as the former consumed an absolutely massive amount of energy. And when the motes of icy light of True Zero Ice Seal vanished, the Ice Angel's defense and control abilities dropped to their lowest. At this moment, the celestial plume in Mei Gongzi's hand was already rippling with layers of silver waves, silently taking control of the surrounding space. She now appeared like a fairy radiating silver light, and that silver light made the blizzard entirely vanished. A layer of blue light suddenly lit up around the ice angel, transforming into a crystal-clear, coffin-like ice barrier that protected her from all sides. But it was futile. Layers of silver light enveloped her, turning her into a silver cocoon. Mei Gongzi's understanding became clearer as Tang San's words echoed in her mind. She was supposed to work together with space, not against it. And at this moment, the space around her had no cracks, only folds and wrinkles. These strange folds were the strongest of chains and cuffs, rendering the ice angel immobile. Although this spatial force couldn't harm the ice phoenix in her strongest defensive state, she had completely lost control of even her own movements, let alone the battlefield. The next moment, silver light flashed, and the ice angel disappeared into thin air. When she reappeared, she was already off the stage. Undoubtedly, this match was the least dramatic of all today's matches and ended the fastest. Yet the entire process left the audience dumbfounded, with many not even understanding what had happened before the match was over. The Phoenix demons in the audience, members of the Ice Phoenix clan, Immortal Flame Phoenix clan, and some other clans as well, were all simply dumbfounded by this development. What they had expected to be a fierce battle ended just like that. Although the Ice Phoenixes were not the strongest among their race, a phoenix was still a phoenix, far beyond the level of ordinary demons and nymphs. Yet despite that, the Ice Angel seemed to have no chance of fighting back. This was particularly clear the moment Mei Gongzi neutralized the true Zero Ice Seal. Despite being at the same level of cultivation, Mei Gongzi could suppress a member of a Phoenix clan through sheer elemental control, leaving her utterly powerless to fight back. The Phoenix and Peacock demons had been fighting for the title of King of all birds for countless years. When the Peacock Demon Emperor was alive, she completely suppressed the Phoenix race, and for that reason, the entire race harbored resentment toward the Peacock Demon clan. But after the fall of the Peacock Demon Emperor, the Peacock Demon clan could no longer produce a Demon Emperor, while the Phoenix race continued to flourish and produced multiple Demon Emperors. Eventually, the Phoenixes felt that it was below their dignity to even interact with the likes of the Peacock Demon clan. Mei Gongzi's performance today could only be described as stunning. That perfect circle she drew shocked everyone. At this moment, not only were the Phoenix race warriors shocked, but even the Peacock Great Demon King felt a bit dumbfounded. That move wasn't something he had taught her. She was his daughter, and no one knew her level of strength better than he did. Yet, in that instant, when Mei Gongzi drew that circle, he witnessed how she perfectly merged with the surrounding space. Instead of Mei Gongzi fighting the Ice Angel, it was space itself going against the Ice Angel and kicking her out, which resulted in her loss. When did she become able to do this? When has her mastery of space reached such a level? This sense of merging with space was something even he, a great demon king, couldn't achieve. In other words, while she was still far below him in terms of cultivation level, Mei Gongzi was clearly superior in terms of comprehending and using the space element. Could this be the result of receiving the ancestral inheritance and gaining the true recognition of the divine artifact? She might indeed be the hope of the Peacock Demon clan and become the new Peacock Demon Emperor. In Mei Gongzi, the Peacock Great Demon King saw hope, true hope. This was far, far beyond his expectations. With such a foundation, her future growth would be extremely rapid. At this moment, he even regretted bringing his daughter to participate in this ancestral court elite tournament. Had he known her abilities were at such a level, he should have let her hide and cultivate quietly until the day she became a demon emperor and shocked the entire continent. Even if it meant handing over Kali City to the Crystal Phoenix Demon Emperor, it wouldn't matter. That guy only barely ascended to become a demon emperor by a stroke of luck. If Mei Gongzi could become a demon emperor, however, she would be far beyond his league. Her phoenix demon blood guaranteed that she would have incredible abilities. After all, the former Peacock Demon Emperor was on par with the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor. The Celestial Fox controlled fate and fortune, while the Peacock grasped heavenly secrets. Watching his daughter step down from the stage, stunningly beautiful as she held the celestial plume, the Peacock Great Demon King felt as if something was stuck in his throat and pressed his lips tightly together. In the waiting area, Tang San's smile grew even brighter. When he saw Mei Gongzi use the mysterious circles of heaven in such a natural way, he knew the outcome of the match was already decided. No one could stop Mei Gongzi from reaching the finals. She had grown faster than Tang San had anticipated. Her intelligence and comprehension left Tang San in awe. With just one piece of guidance from him, she had made such significant progress. The mysterious circles of heaven seemed tailor-made for her. The fact that she had performed it so effortlessly meant she had already achieved some measure of proficiency in it. When Tang San was a god king, his powerful divine technique Unpredictable Storm, which was based on the mysterious circles of heaven, could trap even other god kings. This technique was one of the things that allowed him to become the strongest god king, a king among god kings. In a sense, the mysterious circles of heaven was Tang San's core divine technique. Mei Gongzi achieving basic proficiency so quickly had greatly exceeded Tang San's expectations. This short match brought him a level of shock no less than what Big Cat had done just a little while before. In the stands, the members of Redemption Academy were equally dumbfounded. They were not familiar with Mei Gongzi, but by watching the matches of Mei Gongzi and Tang San, they had come to an understanding regarding the strength of this peacock demon princess. However, today's match completely overturned their understanding. They had originally thought their own improvement was fast, but seeing a peer reach such a level filled their hearts with an overwhelming sense of urgency. They used to think Tang San was the odd one out, so they didn't expect Mei Gongzi to have the same extraordinary abilities. In other words, it wasn't something only Tang San could achieve. There were other geniuses in this world, and Tang San and Mei Gongzi were human too. If they could do it, why couldn't the Shrek Squad? Why couldn't other people do it too? With a flicker of silver light, Mei Gongzi appeared in front of Tang San out of thin air. They exchanged smiles, he gave her a thumbs up, and Mei Gongzi, feeling a bit proud, lifted her chin slightly before bursting into laughter. Her gaze became even gentler as she looked at him. Everyone had witnessed her power just now, but only she knew that it was her big brother Azura's guidance that set her on the right path. Without learning the mysterious circles of heaven, she couldn't have understood the profound meaning of space and the relationship between herself and space. So how could she truly integrate with space? Now, she was a true love child of space. Since space was everywhere, so was she. The mysterious circles of heaven had allowed her to reach this enlightenment, elevating her understanding to another level. It was only now, as she executed the technique in a perfectly natural manner, that she realized the mysterious circles of heaven was not just a defensive technique, but also a foundational technique for cultivating other space-related ones. This little trick, as Azura called it, was incredibly powerful. What a precious divine technique it was, and yet he had taught it to her without reservation. At that moment, Big Cat, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground, exhaled deeply and slowly opened his eyes. "Thank you," he said, looking at Tang San and nodding in gratitude. "How are you?" Tang San asked. Big Cat replied, "I've gained control for now. It's a very peculiar power. It feels like I've suddenly gained a lot, but it's going to be difficult to rein in." Tang San said, "When you use this power in the future, you must remember to always stay true to your heart. Never let your inner killing intent disturb you. Always bear in mind the conviction that strengthened your will when you first gained access to this power. That way, you can control it and make it a power you can wield." Big Cat stood up, looking at Tang San in surprise. "You seem to know an awful lot about this ability. Have you seen it before?" Tang San smiled slightly and said, "You can call it the God-killing domain. Under its influence, all your abilities will be enhanced, and it will also intimidate your opponents. It's similar to the bloodstained domain used by the Dark Devil Monarch, but purer, untainted by resentment and other such emotions. It won't backfire, but you must be careful not to let the killing intent blind you." God-killing domain? That's a good name. Big Cat's eyes lit up, and he couldn't help but praise it. "You know, I often feel like you can do anything and know everything." "Ha!" Mei Gongzi nodded in agreement. She felt the same way. Tang San laughed and said, "Then you can consider me an all-knowing, omnipotent god. And your god of fortune, too. Anyway, let's go. Our matches are over, we can head back." Big Cat was a bit surprised. "Did I meditate that long? Mei Gongzi's match is over too?" Tang San laughed. "You missed an exciting match. If you get to fight her in the future, you'll see." Big Cat also grinned. "Let's hope the lots don't pit us against each other too soon. Hard to say now that we're in the finals. With the three of us taking up 3 of the 16 spots, the chances of fighting each other aren't low. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully, we won't end up facing each other in the first round. After that, we'll leave it to fate." They were not all that likely to meet each other in the first round, but in the second round, with only 8 people remaining, they might need some luck to avoid each other. The best scenario, of course, would be for them to only meet in the semifinals. This way, 2 of them could make it to the finals, which would be the ideal outcome. Of course, the opponents in the finals would undoubtedly be stronger. While Mei Gongzi's match was happening, Tang San went to watch some of the other matches. There were indeed some very strong contestants, and Mei Gongzi wasn't the only one with a divine weapon. At this moment, several figures entered the waiting area and immediately scanned the entire area. Since there were only a few contestants left, the waiting area appeared quite empty. Their gazes quickly locked onto Tang San and the other two, and they immediately strode toward them. It was clear that they were focused on Mei Gongzi. Mei Gongzi looked at Tang San, who smiled slightly and said, "Let's go." Before those emperor's envoys could approach, a silver light flashed around Mei Gongzi, Tang San and Big Cat, and in the next moment, they disappeared. Mei Gongzi's control over space had become increasingly refined, and now she could teleport with others no problem. Although she couldn't teleport over long distances just yet, she could do it instantaneously. The moment they popped up outside the competition venue, Big Cat said, "I'll go ahead. I need to stabilize this god-killing domain. You two take your time." As he spoke, he sprinted off and quickly disappeared from Tang San and Mei Gongzi's sight. He wasn't an idiot, and he could naturally tell Tang San's feelings for Mei Gongzi. It had been obvious since Tang San chose her over him for the duo competition. Moreover, Mei Gongzi's ability to continuously defeat strong opponents and advance to the finals made Big Cat hold her in even higher regard. Such a powerful woman was rare. Seeing Big Cat leave, Mei Gongzi looked at Tang San and said, "Big brother Azura, thank you." Tang San smiled and said, "I swore to serve you, so there's no need to thank me. You are my master after all." Mei Gongzi's cheeks turned slightly red. "What master? You know you can't just make blood oaths like that." Tang San replied helplessly, "If I didn't, would your father let me go? Besides, I did it willingly. I would never betray you anyway."
Mei Gongzi left.
"Then if I become the city lord in the future, I'll make you the deputy city lord. That won't be necessary. Just let me be your personal guard." "To protect you closely," replied Tang San. Mei Gongzi clearly didn't catch his implication. "Wouldn't that be too much trouble for you? That sounds unfair." Tang San smiled. "There's no trouble at all. Where are you going now? Back to your place?" Mei Gongzi was about to say something when a familiar voice came from behind. "Yes, we're going back." They turned around to see none other than the Peacock Great Demon King. Tang San felt a bit helpless. Why is he here again? The Peacock Great Demon King's expression looked somewhat complicated as he approached them. He nodded at Tang San, then raised his hand, enveloping himself and Mei Gongzi in silver light, and they disappeared. With Mei Gongzi gone, Tang San felt a sudden sense of loss. She just left like that. Oh well, it is what it is. There's still the doubles competition tomorrow. The individual competition had already entered the finals, and tomorrow's doubles match would determine whether they could advance from their group. If they advanced, this would be enough for Mei Gongzi to make a name for herself, making it easier to gain the Ancestral Court's recognition. It would be best if they could win a championship, of course. At that point, if the Ancestral Court wanted to target the Peacock Demon Clan, they would have to consider whether they might be facing a future Demon Emperor. From what Tang San had observed of the Demon Emperors he had encountered, it was unlikely that they would interfere with Mei Gongzi's growth unless it was absolutely necessary. After all, there was a subtle competition between the demon and nymph races. Having more demon emperors than nymph emperors would naturally be advantageous for the former. The Solstice Empire might end up having to bow to the Empyrean Dominion. After tomorrow's doubles competition, the qualifying situation would become clear. There was one more final round for both the individual and doubles competitions to determine the final spots for the finals. Then the intense finals would begin. The opponents in the finals were going to be on another level entirely. Those who made it to the finals not only were elite but also received the full support of their clans, so it was hard to predict how powerful they would be. However, Tang San remained confident in himself and Mei Gongzi, especially after Mei Gongzi's sudden enlightenment today, which greatly increased her strength. He had also regained some abilities from his previous life, thanks to Big Cat being enlightened to the god-killing domain. All in all, this visit to the Ancestral Court was taking much longer than Tang San had initially expected. Of course, this was primarily due to Mei Gongzi. Without her, he would have returned to Kali City long ago. However, the gains from this trip were substantial, and laid a solid foundation for his future breakthrough to godhood. Once he returned to Kali City, he would quickly transform these new gains into direct combat power, allowing himself and his companions to make further comprehensive improvements. Then he would prepare for the big step, becoming a god once more. Today's matches ended quite early, so Tang San didn't return to the hotel but went straight to the Sun's Sacred Mountain. The yin-yang energy still needed some cultivation in order to reach the perfect level for integration. Tang San had a premonition that if he could truly integrate the ultimate yin and yang into a new, powerful imprint, it might surpass even the fused imprint of the behemoth and the golden mammoth. It could become the core imprint for his future breakthrough to the 10th order. However, the difficulty and danger of this integration were correspondingly enormous. Not until midnight did Tang San finish his cultivation between the Sunborn Sacred Mountain and the Earthshade Sacred Mountain and returned to the hotel. The hotel room was silent. Tang San quietly consolidated the yin-yang energy he had gathered, adjusting them carefully. The yin-yang energy was increasing rapidly, so much so that the energy he had previously absorbed to nourish the Blue-Silver Emperor imprint was no longer sufficient. As the quantity of yin-yang energy increased, it became denser, but this also meant he couldn't afford even the slightest instability. Any conflict could cause significant trouble. Tang San knew he needed to pause his cultivation of the yin-yang energy, not only because the fusion medium that was the Blue-Silver Emperor was lacking, but also because his body was nearing its limit in terms of endurance. Once yin-yang energy was cultivated in his dantian, he could use it to increase the power of almost all his other abilities. An example of that was how Tang San could infuse the yin-yang energy into his Golden Wing Wind-Splitting Slash when he attacked the Wind Dragon contestant. However, the more potent the yin-yang energy became, the more it affected the bloodline imprints. It impacted not just Tang San's use of the imprint's abilities, but also the imprints themselves. The best solution would be to compress the energy within his Blue-Silver Emperor imprint and only activate it when needed. However, even if the Blue-Silver Emperor imprint could withstand it, his dantian might not. His meridians were also nearing their limit when he circulated the yin-yang energy. This meant he needed to strengthen his physique to continue cultivating the yin-yang energy. The constraints of cultivating this ultimate ability were indeed great, but Tang San didn't feel discouraged. The difficulty only proved its immense power. For that matter, the Behemoth and Golden Mammoth imprints were also too powerful. Fusing them was still not feasible, and it was for the exact same reason. Thus, the first order of business was stabilizing his energy and improving his physique, but that was also not something that could be done in the short term. So what could he do right now to ensure victory in these matches? He had considered everything on his way back today. After the final match of the doubles competition tomorrow, he would have a 2-day rest period. And during this time, he decided to attempt something else. 2 days were not enough to fuse the Behemoth and Golden Mammoth imprints, but it might be possible to fuse another imprint, the Wind Dragon imprint he obtained from the Wind Dragon clan. The Wind Dragon clan's bloodline was also first tier. However, since the Wind Dragon clan had never produced a demon emperor, it wasn't considered particularly strong among the first-tier bloodlines. Naturally, Tang San wasn't willing to waste a spot in his dantian solely for the Wind Dragon imprint. He needed to merge it with one of the other imprints. He had a total of 7: Discerning Eye of Heaven, Lion Tiger, Golden Rock, Chrono Croc, Blue Silver Emperor, Crystalline, and Peacock Demon. Since he had now reached the 9th order, he still had 2 vacant spots. Among the 7 imprints, the Discerning Eye of Heaven was the core ability, and it also came with the powerful Polar Luck domain. The Lion Tiger transformation and Peacock transformation were high level even among first-tier bloodlines, while the Blue Silver Emperor housed the yin-yang energy, making it crucial for the future. Crystalline occupied 1 imprint, and Tang San couldn't do anything about that. For now, she didn't seem to harm him and even provided some help at times, so he decided to leave it be. The last 2 were second-tier bloodlines, the Chrono Croc and the Golden Rock. Although inferior in terms of sheer bloodline power, these 2 imprints were very practical. The Golden Rock transformation's flight ability was excellent for combat and movement, while the Chrono Croc transformation held the profound secret of controlling time. With that in mind, it was pretty obvious what he had to do with the Wind Dragon transformation. The Golden Rock transformation was the most suitable for a fusion. Both had flying capabilities, and adding control over the wind element to the Golden Rock transformation would significantly enhance its flight ability. Moreover, although the Wind Dragons weren't the strongest among dragons, they were still dragons. The Dragon Clan's powerful innate physique would significantly enhance his own. Tang San didn't know what the fusion would result in, but there was always some risk in merging different species. However, he didn't expect it to suppress the Discerning Eye of Heaven, other first-tier bloodlines, or the yin-yang energy. And even if the fusion resulted in negative effects, he could simply abandon it and have Cheng Zicheng help him regain the Golden Rock transformation imprint. The only thing he regretted right now was not having that second pill from the Peacock Great Demon King. Otherwise, with a magic panacea that could almost bring the dead back to life, he would have no qualms attempting anything. With this thought, Tang San made up his mind. After tomorrow's doubles competition, he would attempt the Wind Dragon, Golden Rock Fusion in order to enhance his physique and continue cultivating the yin-yang energy. Having clarified his thoughts, he gradually entered a state of deep meditation. Time always seemed to feel insufficient. It felt as if he had just started meditating when his internal clock woke him up. He opened the window and looked at the faint light rising in the east, beginning his practice of the purple demon eyes. While cultivating, Tang San couldn't help but find it amusing. Even in his previous life, his cultivation wasn't as urgent as it was in this life. The responsibilities he bore in this life were enormous. Mei Gongzi had a special status. Without sufficient strength, how could he protect her? He could only keep pushing himself to improve quickly. When Tang San finished his cultivation, washed up, and arrived at the dining hall, all his companions were there, obviously waiting for him. Zhang Haoshuan was absent today, probably busy with something else. "Hey, little Tang, how did you get to know the Peacock Princess?" Du Bai exclaimed, winking at Tang San as soon as he saw him. "She's incredible." Yesterday's battle had left everyone deeply impressed by Mei Gongzi's formidable strength. Tang San replied, "It's a secret." He thought to himself, "I met her in another life. Can't exactly tell you that, can I? She's really strong. And I think she's even younger than me," Chang Zicheng remarked. Tang San asked, "Are you guys going to watch the match today?" If they wanted to watch the match, they needed to go early to get in. On the other hand, as a contestant, Tang San didn't need to queue up and could go in through a dedicated entrance. Wu Bingji said, "We discussed it after we got back yesterday. We decided not to watch the matches and focus on cultivating instead. Watching the matches these past few days has been a bit overwhelming. Compared to these strong contestants from various clans, we're still far behind. We need to use this time to improve ourselves." Tang San nodded. "That makes sense." The Ancestral Court Elite competition featured the strongest below the 10th order on the Demon Continent. Now, the remaining contestants were almost all first-tier bloodline powerhouses. Each one was extraordinarily strong, so it was natural for his companions to feel pressured. That was the whole point. The Ancestral Court held this tournament to inspire the younger generation to strive for greatness. Guli said, "We're really far behind. I need to reach the 9th order as soon as possible." Seeing how affected they were, Tang San comforted them. "No need to rush. After this tournament, we'll return to Kali City and digest all we've gained. Everyone's strength will improve more than you can imagine." Chang Zicheng said, "In any case, you have to teach me your flying techniques. They're really cool. If I had your flying skills, I'd be satisfied." "No problem," Tang San said with a smile. After breakfast, everyone went their separate ways. The Shrek squad went to the sacred mountains they'd chosen for cultivation, while Tang San headed straight to the competition venue. When he arrived, Mei Gongzi was already there. They were always the first group to compete, so they didn't go to the waiting area and went straight to the preparation area instead. "What did your father say to you when you went back yesterday?" Tang San asked Mei Gongzi. Today, she wore a light blue long dress, which added to her noble demeanor. Mei Gongzi said he just asked where that move came from. Tang San asked, "So what did you tell him?" Mei Gongzi chuckled softly. "Of course, I didn't give you away. I just said that it came naturally to me yesterday, and I didn't know how it happened. I just followed the feeling I got from the celestial plume." My father was puzzled and reminisced for a while, saying that even our demon emperor ancestor never used such a technique. He told me to practice it well because it has tremendous potential. If used well, it could be the ability that brings me up to god level or even demon emperor level in the future. Tang San laughed. He sure knows what he's talking about. But someone initially told me it was just a little trick. Hey, it really is just a little trick. It's not a big deal. It only works like that for you because you have great talent and you use it well. Mei Gongzi rolled her eyes at him. "I don't believe your nonsense. It's a divine technique. You can't fool me. But I am curious. Where did you learn it?" Tang San said, "It's just innate knowledge."
Mei Gongzi pouted.
"You're so annoyingly secretive. Because I can't explain it clearly. I will tell you everything in the future. But that's in the future. The hell would you say if I told you we have a destined connection from a past life and I know these abilities from my previous life? You would definitely think I'm talking nonsense." Mei Gongzi huffed, but a smile appeared on her face. "Our opponents today are really strong. You need to be careful." Tang San nonchalantly replied, "It's fine, you're here. I'll just rely on you. Your strength yesterday probably scared them off." Not at all. Today's pair is really strong. They're the seeded team of our group. Tang San asked, wasn't the seeded team the Dragon Phoenix pair? Mei Gongzi replied, can't there be two seeded teams? Besides, this group might be even harder to deal with because it's a demon-nymph combination. A demon-nymph combination? That's rare. Tang San was immediately curious. They hadn't encountered such a combination before. From this tournament, it was clear that while the Empyrean Dominion and the Solstice Empire appeared harmonious on the surface, there were underlying tensions, and both sides were secretly competing against each other. A team composed of demon and nymph clans is indeed interesting. Moreover, the participants are all first-tier and second-tier bloodline powerhouses. What clans are they from? Tang San asked. Mei Gongzi replied, their team is called the Dragon Knight Duo. It's made up of a member from the Fire Dragon clan and a member from the Scorching Sunflower clan. They are also known as the Dragon Flower Duo. Upon hearing that they would face yet another Scorching Sunflower, Tang San's expression turned serious. He had a hard-fought battle against a Scorching Sunflower contestant before, so he knew very well how powerful they were. A duo consisting of a Scorching Sunflower and a Fire Dragon would be a formidable opponent. Although the Fire Dragon clan didn't have a demon emperor, their mastery of fire was not inferior to that of the immortal Flame Phoenixes. Moreover, the strong physique of the dragon race compensated for the lacking physical power of the Scorching Sunflower clan. The two complemented each other perfectly, possessing the power to burn the heavens and boil the earth. Their combination is known as the second most fiery team in this tournament. You should be mentally prepared, Mei Gongzi said. The second? If they are just second, then who's first? Tang San asked Mouth Agape. Mei Gongzi replied, the team in the first place is formidable. They are considered the favorites to win the doubles competition, and I believe they will be one of our toughest competitors in the finals. One of them is from the Immortal Flame Phoenix clan, the other from the Parasol Tree clan. They are the descendants of the Undying Demon Emperor and the Parasol Tree Nymph Emperor. Tang San blurted out, the phoenix roosting on the parasol tree? Whoa, that really is a combination. Yes, that's why they are even harder to deal with. That pair is considered the successors of the two demon emperors. They usually cultivate together and complement each other perfectly. The relationship between the Undying Demon Emperor and the Parasol Tree Nymph Emperor has always been good. If these two join forces, they are at the pinnacle among the emperors. It's said that they once sparred with the Crystal Demon Emperor, which ended in a draw. Tang San exclaimed in surprise, the Perching Phoenix duo can only fight it to a draw? This Crystal Demon Emperor really is terrifying. No wonder the other emperors didn't dare make a sound when it showed up to take something back at the auction. Mei Gongzi nodded and said, yes, that's exactly why it's called the strongest emperor. You know what, let's not think about that for now. We should focus on defeating the Dragon Flower duo. Do you have any ideas? Mei Gongzi looked at him and said, I'll follow your lead. Feeling her reliance on him, Tang San's mood improved instantly. All right, just follow my commands. You said something about a dragon knight. Huh? Today, you can also be a knight, if you know what I mean. Mei Gongzi was initially stunned. Then her eyes lit up. Can we? No, I don't think that's right. Tang San feigned annoyance. Humph, your words say that. But your face says something else. You've been wanting to do this ever since you saw my wings. Haven't you? No, what are you talking about? I've never thought about that. Mei Gongzi shook her head repeatedly, but a smile was already forming at the corner of her mouth. Be careful not to get motion sickness, Tang San joked. Shut up and let's go. At this moment, the referee had announced that the match was about to begin. Tang San and Mei Gongzi stepped onto the competition stage together. As they stepped onto the stage, a wave of cheers erupted from the audience. With a string of victories behind them, both competitors had captured the audience's attention. One had already secured a spot in the finals, while the other was virtually guaranteed to advance. As for their human identities, few in the audience paid attention to that detail. Many strong individuals from various clans also had human appearances. Most of the audience could hardly imagine that real humans could participate in the Ancestral Court Elite Tournament, while those in the know had other priorities, securing the loyalty of these powerful humans, for instance. On the other side of the competition stage, a man and a woman also stepped up. Both were about 2 meters tall, and their powerful auras even caused the light around them to distort. The woman was tall and strong, and looked heroic rather than delicate. A diamond-shaped, bright red dragon scale shimmered on her forehead. The man was leaner, with faint red light flickering in his eyes. A female dragon, Tang San said softly. It was clear that the female competitor was from the Fire Dragon clan and the male competitor from the Scorching Sunflower clan. Yes, a female dragon. What's the matter? Mei Gongzi asked. Tang San said, that's just wrong. Look at us, we're doing things the proper way. Mei Gongzi rolled her eyes at him. We're in a competition. Are you really going to let me ride you? Is that okay? Tang San said, what's wrong with a brother carrying his sister? This was their first close interaction, and he couldn't be happier. A husband giving his wife a piggyback ride was perfectly natural. Then I won't hold back, Mei Gongzi said with a smile, clearly not overthinking it. No need to be polite, go ahead. Or we could go their way and you could let me be the peacock knight. Tang San couldn't help but tease her. At that moment, the referee announced the start of the match. Begin. Roar. An intense dragon roar suddenly echoed as the female fire dragon stepped forward, her body rapidly expanding in the next instant. Dragons naturally had perfect transformation abilities, allowing them to turn directly into their original forms. The wind dragon from the other day had been unlucky, not even having time to transform, or perhaps not even intending to, before being instantly defeated by Tang San. The female fire dragon in front of him looked at Tang San with obvious hostility. Her body swelled and in an instant transformed into a massive dragon over 15 meters long. Her wings spread wide, and her roar shook the heavens and earth, while her scales emitted a dazzling blaze. Every scale seemed to overflow with fire elemental energy. The scorching sunflower youth leapt up and landed on the fire dragon's back. Vines with blooming sunflowers rapidly grew, attaching themselves to the dragon's wings and along its neck. The surging fire force illuminated half the arena, exuding an aura that seemed to be capable of burning the heavens and boiling the earth. Tang San nodded to Mei Gongzi. Come up. Mei Gongzi, looking at his widespread golden wings, was a bit stunned and instinctively asked, how do I do that? Tang San's mouth twitched, and he said, I can't transform. I'll carry you on my back. Ah? Mei Gongzi then remembered they were human and couldn't transform completely like the dragon and phoenix clans. She had instinctively thought Azura was omnipotent, but now she realized there were in fact things he couldn't do. Seeing the fire dragon on the opposite side already taking to the sky, Tang San urged Mei Gongzi, hurry up.
Mei Gongzi
Didn't have time to think about it and quickly climbed onto Tang San's back. Just as she was about to ask how they would fight this way, Tang San's golden wings flapped, lifting them both into the air. Mei Gongzi could fly on her own with her peacock transformation, of course, but this was her first time being carried. Tang San's back was broad and strong, and for some reason, lying against his back gave her a natural sense of security. With a flap of his golden wings, Tang San ascended much faster than the fire dragon. On the opposing side, the Dragon Knight duo's appearance was truly dazzling, while Tang San and Mei Gongzi's piggyback style lacked visual impact. If anything, they looked rather comical. At this moment, Tang San silently felt the softness on his back and Mei Gongzi's fragrant scent, his mind becoming a bit distracted. How do we fight? Mei Gongzi couldn't help but ask. Ah? Her call brought Tang San back to full awareness. Oh, I'll lend you my strength. Once they are high enough in the air, use your spatial power to bind them and throw them down, Tang San said. Can this work? The energy intensity is too high. I'm afraid I'm not strong enough, Mei Gongzi said doubtfully. Under the opponent's intense flames, space itself was being distorted by the heat. In such a state, using spatial power to bind them seemed nearly impossible. Tang San said, trust me, you can do it. Use the celestial plume. As he spoke, the peacock transformation imprint within Tang San had already begun to glow. In an instant, Mei Gongzi felt a surge of mighty bloodline energy suddenly pouring into her body. In that moment, the peacock crown on her forehead burst into dazzling brilliance, and she instinctively raised her head. The peacock wings almost instantly spread out, overlapping with Tang San's golden wings, making them look like one four-winged being. At the same time, Mei Gongzi felt her perception of space suddenly soar. She wrapped one arm around Tang San's neck, freeing the other hand to grasp the celestial plume. Dazzling golden light burst from her entire body, and layers upon layers of silver ripples spread out. At that moment, she felt as if she had become the true ruler of space. Her cultivation had not only risen to the pinnacle of the Ninth Order, but she also felt as though she were transcending space itself. This was clearly touching the threshold of the god level. How did he do this? How could he give me such a huge boost? Even between members of the same clan, this shouldn't be possible. What Tang San was doing was quite simple. He had activated his peacock transformation, and through the physical connection between them, he was transferring his internal energy to Mei Gongzi. His entire internal energy could be filtered through the peacock transformation imprint and used to support her. With his cultivation advancing to the 9th order, Tang San's control over his own cultivation and understanding of bloodline power had greatly increased. He finally had the confidence to use the bloodline imprints to convert the internal energy produced using the mysterious heaven technique. So now, he was not only a powerful warrior but also a powerful support, provided the supported person had a bloodline he also possessed. Mei Gongzi was the first test subject, but he was entirely certain that this would work. If he hadn't been, Tang San wouldn't have chosen this course of action. What he had said earlier about relying on Mei Gongzi wasn't just talk. Whoever the opponent was, Tang San really planned to play second fiddle and allow her to do the work. This method allowed the power of two to concentrate into one. Before yesterday, Tang San could have only boosted Mei Gongzi to the peak of the 9th order. But with Mei Gongzi's recent understanding of the mysterious circles of heaven and the mysteries of space, she was only short of the process of tribulation and breakthrough to reach the god level. Her comprehension of spatial mysteries had actually reached the level of a god. Under these circumstances, influenced by Tang San, Mei Gongzi's cultivation naturally increased. Even without Tang San using his divine consciousness to influence her, given the numerous spectators, he couldn't risk that she could be considered a bona fide 10th order cultivator. Moreover, she held the celestial plume in her hand, a true divine artifact, and now that she was powering it with the actual energy of a god, even Tang San couldn't tell how powerful a spatial force she could unleash. The peacock crown on her forehead gradually turned platinum, and Mei Gongzi's eyes also became silver. She felt it. A new realm, a new world where the entire space was hers to control. Countless silver lights layered upon each other in the surrounding space, transforming into a vast expanse of silver radiance that spread outward. At this moment, Mei Gongzi and Tang San seemed to merge into one entity, their terrifying spatial power causing the very heaven and earth to change color. On the opposite side, the two powerful fire attribute opponents had already erupted in flames. Massive columns of fire and dragon flames were furiously shooting toward them. Mei Gongzi gently waved the celestial plume in her hand, opening one illusory space door after another. As the blazing fire columns rushed toward them, they were swallowed one by the space doors, vanishing to who knew where. No matter how fierce the flames, they needed to hit their target to have any impact. But now, in the face of the space doors opening one after the other, they were rendered completely ineffective. On one side, there were endless silver light doors, and on the other, massive fire columns. The aerial battlefield became incredibly dazzling, mesmerizing those who watched. Mei Gongzi's peacock wings had turned silver, shining brilliantly in contrast to Tang San's golden wings. The gold and silver colors burst forth with dazzling brilliance. For her, this moment felt just wonderful. It was an unprecedented sense of control, as if the entire world space was under her command, and everything fell within her grasp. As the silver light doors opened and closed, her proficiency in wielding spatial power increased by the second. With the guidance and amplification of the celestial plume, the spatial doors continuously corrected and stabilized the spatial distortions caused by the burning flames. In terms of consumption, she and Tang San were clearly using less energy compared to their opponents, who were frantically firing columns of flame. The space doors transported their attacks away rather than resisting them. As for the teleported fire columns, they erupted in the distant sky, dispersing as a rain of fire. The fire dragon competitor clearly realized they would be exhausted if this continued. Flapping her dragon wings, she suddenly charged toward Tang San and Mei Gongzi. Tang San smiled slightly, not in any hurry. How wonderful it was to carry Mei Gongzi. If anything, he wanted this match to go on for a little longer. Even if he could quickly defeat the opponent now, he had no intention to do that. Besides, keeping Mei Gongzi in this state for a longer time would greatly help her deepen her understanding of space. With his golden wings, Tang San soared higher, quickly increasing the distance between them and their opponents. The dragon race was strong, but in terms of flight speed, none of their clans could compare to the golden-winged roc at the same level. Moreover, even if Tang San and Mei Gongzi didn't fly, as long as they didn't enter the burning space, Mei Gongzi could still teleport. The standoff turned into a chase. The fire dragon soared into the sky with a majestic aura and dazzling fire columns, continuously pursuing Tang San and Mei Gongzi. Meanwhile, Tang San handled the flying, while Mei Gongzi constantly summoned spatial doors to teleport the fire columns away. The battle between the two sides was truly spectacular. The Tang San and Mei Gongzi combination shifted from their previous individualist, hard-hitting style to a war of attrition based on perfect cooperation. Tang San held tightly onto Mei Gongzi's legs as he flew through the air, while Mei Gongzi continuously experienced the spatial power at the god level, comprehending and manipulating the space. The other two competition arenas were even affected by their battle. The competition platform was 200 meters in diameter, but once they took to the sky, their flight range far exceeded that. As a result, the other two matches had to stay on the platform. Who would be crazy enough to fight for airspace with the two pairs duking it out like that? It was the Dragon Flower duo fighting the Peacock Princess, and the human who'd just beaten a behemoth. Which one of the others could just ignore the pillars of fire and the random spatial doors? The two sides continued their chase, one spitting flames and the other dodging them. For the time being, there was no clear winner. Big brother, how should I bind them? My spiritual power is running low, Mei Gongzi said softly to Tang San, while continuously summoning spatial doors. In terms of bloodline power consumption, they did have an advantage, but Mei Gongzi was now controlling space at a level far beyond her own. Tang San could enhance her perception of space by transferring over his own internal energy through the Peacock transformation imprint. But he couldn't solve her spiritual power consumption problem. Well, he could use his divine consciousness to help her, but that would be too obvious. Every time you open a space door, you connect to a single spatial coordinate. How about you try to reopen all those you opened and closed, since you already know the coordinate? That ought to do the trick. Although Tang San was more than willing to keep carrying her, he had to consider her endurance. They couldn't afford to overdo it. Reopen all of them at once? Mei Gongzi was taken aback, but then she understood what he was hinting at. Let me see. As she spoke, she started to act. The celestial plume in her hand generated motes of silver light that filled the air, and a strange scene unfolded. One illusory space door after another silently appeared, the doors she had previously opened to teleport the fire columns. Suddenly, hundreds of space doors floated in the air above the entire competition arena. The dense fire element in the air seemed to find hundreds of outlets, quickly dissipating, causing the redness in the sky to diminish and the temperature to drop sharply. The female fire dragon immediately sensed something was wrong. She let out a mighty dragon roar and flapped her wings with full force, charging toward one of the spatial doors. The celestial plume danced in the air, forming a circle of silver light, faintly carrying the essence of the mysterious circles of heaven. The coordinates left when the space doors were opened were suddenly connected under the guidance of the celestial plume. Each spatial coordinate was linked to the next one in a perfect chain. One by one, the illusory space doors were shattered by the fire dragon and melted by the flames of the scorching sunflower, but more and more space doors appeared, the powerful spatial force creating layers of bindings, making the fire dragon's wings stiff and unable to flap. Among their desperate struggles, the spatial doors shattered one after the other, but the Dragon Knight duo also fell from the skies. Mei Gongzi's face was pale at this moment. Even with Tang San's support, exerting control over space to such an incredible extent had still exhausted her. Both her spiritual power and bloodline power were weakened. But at that moment, a very peculiar force suddenly surged from Tang San. The surrounding space-time seemed to become calm and serene again. The spatial rifts caused by the battle were instantly repaired, and Mei Gongzi felt a strong space elemental energy mixed with another strange energy flow into her body, giving her a sense of fullness. Silver light burst from the celestial plume, and the power of her spatial binding suddenly increased. With a loud boom, the Dragon Knight duo crashed heavily onto the platform, resulting in a big impact crater. The dragon's body was massive and obviously heavy, and although she was incredibly tough, she was left seeing stars. As for her defensively inept companion, even less needed to be said. He was lucky to even stay conscious. Mei Gongzi wanted to ask Azura what that power was, but the next moment, she felt him flap his wings, bringing them down rapidly. With the incredible speed of the golden rock, Tang San reached the scorching sunflower almost the instant they landed, while the latter was dazed from the impact. His hand, which the entire audience was familiar with and focused on, reached the scorching sunflower. It only took a gentle touch. The scorching sunflower trembled violently, then the vines and sunflowers collapsed one by one. He returned to human form, writhing in pain. At the same time, Mei Gongzi naturally wouldn't miss such an opportunity. The celestial plume in her right hand directly touched the fire dragon's head, binding it with spatial power. Tang San's measure regarding the scorching sunflower was simple. He didn't even need yin-yang energy. A surge of pure yin energy was sufficient. It wasn't much, but it was enough to cause a riot in his bloodline. Tang San himself had experienced this feeling before, so he knew all too well what it felt like. However, the scorching sunflower clan had a bloodline that inclined toward the extreme yang, so an influx of yin energy could trigger a storm of yin-yang energy within their body, which was a significant problem. Tang San didn't want to make a mortal enemy out of the scorching sunflower clan, so he only infused a small amount of yin energy. Even so, resolving it would take them quite some time, making it impossible for the nymph to continue fighting. The all-new 3-5 combo thus defeated these strong opponents, smoothly advancing to the finals of the doubles competition. When Mei Gongzi turned to look at Tang San, she smiled. This battle was much easier than she had imagined. Moreover, she had experienced another level of spatial control and gained many new insights, all thanks to him. The two floated down onto the competition platform together, and the referee announced the end of the match. They exchanged a smile and disappeared in a flash of silver light, not giving any envoys a chance to approach. Having consecutively defeated both the Dragon Phoenix pair and the Dragon Knight duo, they had won over many spectators with their strength. The audience was now cheering loudly. Although they were not the only ones to enter the finals of both major competitions, the abilities they displayed had already made them popular contenders in the minds of the audience. Many spectators had begun to inquire about their origins, and many high-ranking officials in the VIP seats had already learned about their human bloodline and their connection to Kali City, ruled by the Peacock Demon Clan. Big brother, what energy did you transmit into my body at the end? I felt something very peculiar. Besides spatial power, there was also another kind of power that seemed to match it perfectly, Mei Gongzi asked eagerly as they exited the ancestral court plaza. She could still feel the strange changes that power was causing in her body. Her spiritual power wouldn't recover quickly, but she had already recovered most of the bloodline power she had used. Moreover, under the influence of that other mysterious energy, she felt as if her bloodline power was subtly evolving. That is spatiotemporal power, the fusion of time and space. Space and time are inseparable. They can interact, influence each other, and complement each other. Space without time is isolated, while time without space is continuously fleeting. Only when they combine can they turn decay into magic, becoming the greatest of powers. Tang San spoke to Mei Gongzi at a slow pace and in a decisive tone, hoping she could clearly remember what he was saying. As Mei Gongzi's understanding of spatial power deepened, Tang San felt that her level of comprehension was incredible. In this context, adding some more knowledge wouldn't be forcing it, but rather laying a solid foundation for her future advancement to godhood. The power of time? Like the chrono croc? Mei Gongzi asked. Tang San replied, not exactly. The chrono croc controls pure time, whereas what I transmitted to you was the energy of harmonized time and space, able to blend seamlessly with space. This represents a higher level of temporal power. In the future, when your spatial control reaches a certain level, to progress further, you will need to understand time, even if your bloodline doesn't inherently possess this power. You must comprehend the profound principles between space and time. Luckily, you have the White Tiger Demon Emperor's bloodline, and it's strong enough to let your body withstand these two forces. In the future, I will guide you so that you can integrate time control into your spatial power. By then, your foundation will significantly improve. But to truly understand the fusion of time and space, you need to reach the 10th order first. Mei Gongzi couldn't help but ask curiously, what about you then? How do you control it? Tang San smiled slightly and said, I actually rely on something external for that purpose. I have a rare time-space artifact, and the power just now was transmitted to you through. The artifact he mentioned was naturally the huge space-time beacon. Although it hadn't been refined yet, Tang San could already extract some energy from it. Mei Gongzi laughed and said, the title of Omnipotent should be given to you instead of the Crystal Demon Emperor. In my eyes, you are already omnipotent. When she said this, for some reason, Tang San felt the imprint from crystalline inside him slightly tremble. He quickly said, just consider me a walking encyclopedia. I don't dare to claim to be omnipotent. I'm not even at the 10th order yet. Tang San knew that crystalline and the Crystal Demon Emperor were connected, and had a hunch that they were in fact related. It was best to say as little as possible about this foremost emperor to avoid trouble. This being could effortlessly contend with multiple emperors. Alright, you don't have a match tomorrow. Will you come to watch mine? Mei Gongzi asked. Tang San had no matches for the next 2 days, as the final stage of the competition would only start the day after tomorrow. Mei Gongzi still had one more individual match, but her opponent was nothing to write home about. I have an important cultivation task to undertake and I need to seclude myself for 2 days, so I won't be coming tomorrow. But I am completely confident in your strength. Be careful on your own. I'll meet you before the big event. Let's hope we don't face each other too early in the finals. Alright, be careful during your cultivation and don't rush too much. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Actually, this is also part of my preparation for the finals. I've also observed potential opponents in the finals over the past 2 days. The final matches will be on another level compared to the group stage. They will certainly receive more support from their respective clans once they enter the finals. Our matches will be tougher, so you need to be mentally prepared. I think we can manage. We will definitely win. After bidding farewell to Mei Gongzi, Tang San didn't go to the Sacred Mountain this time. Instead, he returned directly to the White Tiger Hotel. He also sent a message to Zhang Haoshuan, informing him that he would be in seclusion for 2 days to reflect on the gains from his recent battles. He prepared some fresh water in the cultivation room and then relaxed for an hour to fully recover from the exertion of the battles, ensuring his spirit was in peak condition before starting his seclusion. 2 days should be enough, and improving his cultivation couldn't be delayed. Mei Gongzi also returned to her residence. The Peacock Great Demon King was already waiting in the room. This time, he hadn't brought her back immediately after the match, instead choosing to return to the residence first. How did you manage that level of control over space? The Peacock Great Demon King immediately asked upon seeing his daughter. Mei Gongzi replied, "It was Azura who transmitted some of his bloodline power to me, which amplified my bloodline power. Then, the Celestial Plume allowed me." "He can amplify your bloodline power?" The Peacock Great Demon King said in surprise. "Yes, I don't know how he does it, but he can. The feeling of controlling space just... something else. Felt as if I reached a completely new level." Mei Gongzi reminisced about her sense of space during the battle, her heart still racing at the memory. The sensation of controlling all the space around her was truly unforgettable. That is indeed another level already touching the threshold of godhood. Even your spatial control at that time had a hint of divinity. Otherwise, how could you withstand the combined impact of the Fire Dragon and the Scorching Sunflower, 2 top-tier fire attribute bloodlines working in harmony? Godhood, you say? Mei Gongzi was stunned for a moment, as she hadn't thought in that direction before. Indeed, let me say this again, your opponents both had a first-tier bloodline, and both were fire attribute ones. Their combination is not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. Being able to restrain such opponents with spatial power means there was a significant level difference between you. That's the only explanation. This Azura is really not simple. Even now, I can't figure out his true abilities, the Peacock Great Demon King said, frowning. He has already sworn a blood oath. Don't you believe him? I also found him mysterious before, but he has never shown any malice toward me and he has always been helping me. There won't be any problems. Please don't make things difficult for him, Mei Gongzi said. The Peacock Great Demon King said in a deep voice, knowing yourself and your enemy is very important. Yes, the blood oath has a strong binding effect, but it doesn't mean everything. My biggest concern is that he might be sent by another emperor to deliberately get close to you. If that's the case, then it's troublesome. He is human.
Mei Gongzi retorted.
The Peacock Great Demon King said, I am concerned precisely because he is human. How can a human cultivate to his level? Is it possible without the guidance of a powerful figure? To be honest, I'm even left wondering what kind of mighty being can produce such a powerful student. Your Redemption Society clearly isn't capable of producing such an outstanding human. Therefore, I have serious doubts about his origins. When you are with him, try to find out more about his background. Until we know where he comes from, I can't be at ease. Mei Gongzi looked at her father, frowned slightly, and nodded gently. Regarding Azura's origins, how could she not be curious? But as they spent more time together, Azura had been completely open with her, going as far as to swear a blood oath, not to mention that divine technique she had taught her. This naturally dispelled her doubts about his good intentions. The only problem was that she had never seen Azura's true face. For some reason, he didn't want her to see his real appearance. This was a thorn that always remained in her heart. Alright, go rest. No matter what, today you touched the God level. You need to properly meditate on your insights. They will greatly help you in future breakthroughs. Meanwhile, I will keep an eye on Azura's situation. Whatever it is, we can deal with it after this competition. You must strive to get a good ranking in either the individual or double competitions. Both, if possible. The strength you have shown has already attracted attention, and we can no longer turn back. The best way to gain the ancestral court's recognition is to make them wary of you. When they believe you might become an emperor in the future, we will have some leverage. As for other matters, you don't need to worry. I'll handle everything for you. Tang San's internal energy circulated, flowing smoothly and rapidly within his body. Now that his cultivation had reached the 9th order, everything about his internal energy had improved tremendously. Originally, the 9th level was the pinnacle of the mysterious heaven technique. It wasn't until he became a god that he developed it to an even higher level. The balanced and peaceful energy of the mysterious heaven technique gradually calmed him down and brought his state to perfection. In his dantian, each imprint was stable in its position, radiating a bright glow. Without using the yin-yang energy, Tang San first activated the polar luck domain of his discerning eye of heaven. The cultivation room instantly turned black and white, the mystical changes in fortune causing black and white lights to flicker around him. The most powerful aspect of the polar luck domain lay in giving good fortune to oneself and misfortune to others. If it was powered by divine energy, then mere control of fortune could allow him to defeat an opponent without doing anything else. They'd probably trip against their own feet and punch themselves in the face if he so desired. The leader of the Ice Maiden clan, Huang Bingbing, was far beyond his level, and yet he was able to suppress her for a short time using this powerful domain. The effects on his cultivation were also quite remarkable. Without the polar luck domain, the fusion of yin-yang energy wouldn't have been possible. With the blessing of fortune, Tang San's luck was at its peak. Only then did he cautiously activate the wind dragon imprint stored within his dantian, slowly bringing it toward the energy vortex. Once it touched the vortex, the wind dragon transformation imprint was naturally drawn into it, moving slowly toward an empty position. However, Tang San's will immediately took control. The radiance of the lion tiger transformation burst forth, suddenly transforming into a ball of platinum light that enveloped the blue-gold light of the wind dragon imprint. Then, with a flash of silver light from the peacock transformation, it was instantly moved to the position of the golden rock imprint. Under Tang San's stimulation, the golden rock imprint shone with golden light, directly swallowing the wind dragon imprint while it was restrained by the lion tiger transformation. The goal was to fuse these two imprints, but Tang San aimed for the golden rock transformation to devour the wind dragon transformation, not the other way around. This was why he was so cautious while performing the fusion today. He had carefully considered this decision. Although the wind dragon transformation was a first-order bloodline, it wasn't particularly powerful among the dragon race. Since it wasn't an overwhelmingly dominant force, the devouring process would be relatively less challenging. The characteristics of the dragon race were just too distinct. If he just happened to pop out a draconic transformation, it would be noticed right away. Since he had already exposed the golden rock transformation, using it to mask the wind dragon transformation's aura was the best choice. Furthermore, he had mastered the golden rock transformation's abilities thoroughly. If the wind dragon transformation caused the traits of the golden rock transformation to disappear, it would bring him quite a bit of trouble. Additionally, there was the matter of Chang Zicheng. He needed to help her cultivate in the future, so losing the essence of the golden rock transformation would be problematic. Therefore, after thorough consideration, Tang San decided to use the method of the snake devouring the elephant one to devour the wind dragon imprint. Relying solely on the golden rock imprint wouldn't be possible, but with the support of numerous first-tier bloodlines, the impossible could become possible. Sensing the threat, the wind dragon imprint glowed with blue light, starting to struggle violently. However, with the lion tiger golden force present, there was no escape. This force had both repelling and devouring attributes, so it was perfect for both defense and containment. At this moment, the lion tiger imprint was directly devouring the energy of the wind dragon imprint. Once filtered by the lion tiger golden force, the devoured energy became much more obedient. In this state, the golden rock imprint began to digest and absorb the energy and characteristics of the wind dragon imprint. The spatial power of the peacock demons assisted from the side. When the wind dragon imprint struggled too fiercely and the lion tiger transformation couldn't control it, the peacock transformation would step in to seal it temporarily, allowing the lion tiger golden force to adjust before continuing to devour. This was equivalent to 2 first-tier bloodlines and 1 second-tier bloodline ganging up on another first-tier bloodline. Additionally, the powerful polar luck domain also belonged to a first-tier bloodline, and the fortune it produced was naturally aligned with Tang San's will. Thus, The entire fusion process went even more smoothly than Tang San had anticipated. The Wind Dragon imprint kept struggling but could never break free from the restraint of the two first-tier imprints. The Peacock transformation constrained it, while the Lion Tiger transformation devoured it, their coordination remarkably seamless. Tang San had initially prepared to use yin-yang energy to suppress the Wind Dragon imprint if necessary, but it seemed that wouldn't be needed now. As the energy of the Wind Dragon imprint was devoured by the Golden Rock imprint, the latter began to undergo a metamorphosis. A large amount of energy escaped from the imprint, nourishing Tang San's body. The energy of the dragon bloodline strengthened his physique. The Golden Rock imprint now had a touch of cyan staining its original golden color. The two colors intertwined and collided, merging with each other and also seemingly devouring each other. The Wind Dragon imprint had already begun to release its energy. If the Golden Rock imprint could not gradually devour it, then it would be useless. It would not be worth keeping for Tang San. But the Golden Rock, as expected, was a top existence among second-tier bloodlines. The golden-winged Great Rock had been practically equal to the Phoenix since ancient times. However, no Great Rock had ever ascended to the position of Demon Emperor. They had always been suppressed by both Phoenix and Peacock. At this moment, as it devoured the bloodline power of the Wind Dragon, the Golden Rock imprint began to rapidly transform. In addition to changing color, it also gradually grew larger, with its aura becoming more prominent. Gradually, the touch of cyan disappeared, and the original deep golden color of the Golden Rock imprint lightened, turning toward a pale gold. At the same time, its power significantly increased. Seeing the smooth fusion of the Golden Rock and Wind Dragon, Tang San felt relieved and stabilized his state. He controlled the Peacock transformation and Lion Tiger transformation to assist it, allowing the Golden Rock imprint to continue devouring the other and strengthening itself. The target was a first-tier bloodline imprint at the peak of the Ninth Order, and the devouring process was somewhat lengthy. However, the benefits it brought Tang San were immense. His internal energy became noticeably more vigorous, and his physical strength increased accordingly. Under the baptism of the wind element, the speed of his energy vortex and the circulation of his internal energy also improved. Tang San did not forget to compress his internal energy as much as he could. He did not want to reach the Ninth Order peak immediately after devouring the Wind Dragon transformation. He was not yet ready to face tribulation and become a god. Therefore, he tried to use up the Wind Dragon bloodline power by infusing more of it into his flesh, blood, and meridians, while minimizing the increase in his cultivation level by continuously compressing his internal energy. Meanwhile, his divine consciousness continued to strengthen under the nourishment of his spiritual power, allowing him to gain more precise control over himself. The entire cultivation process proceeded exactly as he had envisioned. And while Tang San was cultivating, the Ancestral Court Elite competition continued. The individual and doubles competitions each went through the final round of group matches, and the top 16 for both competitions were finally determined. To absolutely nobody's surprise, Mei Gongzi emerged successfully from the ninth group, defeating her opponent. Thus, Tang San, Big Cat, and Mei Gongzi occupied 3 of the top 16 spots in the individual competition, successfully entering the finals. On the other hand, in the doubles competition, Tang San and Mei Gongzi had also qualified, becoming one of the top 16 pairs. Next, they would face even stronger opponents. The venue at the Ancestral Court Plaza was reconstructed. With plenty of manpower available, the 3 competition stages in the arena were merged into one giant platform, 500 meters in diameter, overnight. In the finals, every match would be incredibly important and correspondingly intense, so it would be a great loss if they were to be held simultaneously. Thus, each match would be conducted individually. The top 16 had already emerged, but the matchups were still unclear. The draw would be conducted on the day of the competition to ensure fairness and prevent any competitor from preparing in advance. Therefore, no one knew who they would face in the top 16. The final stage of the competition was about to begin. Early in the morning, Big Cat arrived at the Ancestral Court Square, full of energy. The waiting area had also been modified. Instead of several large waiting areas for the competitors to rest and wait, each finalist now had their own exclusive rest room. This ensured that the competitors could rest adequately without being disturbed. Every competitor who made it to the final stage was an absolute prodigy, watched by many influential individuals. The top 16 were practically guaranteed to become demon or nymph kings, some of them even great demon or nymph kings. Who would dare to ignore such powerful figures? Maybe 1 in 100 had a chance of becoming a demon or nymph emperor, but even that small chance was still a chance. As for those who did not reach the finals of the Ancestral Court Elite competition, they had no such possibility. Only finalists received substantial resource support from their respective races. Becoming an emperor required more than just cultivation. It also required a vast accumulation of resources. Where did these resources come from? Naturally, from the clan and race one pledged loyalty to. That clan, and perhaps the entire race, would invest resources. Reaching the finals demonstrated talent and potential, and would be the perfect springboard to propel them in the right direction. Both the Peacock Great Demon King and the Crystal Phoenix Demon Emperor had once reached the finals of the Ancestral Court Elite competition. Although neither had won in the end, the Peacock Great Demon King had become the leader of the Peacock Demon Clan, and the Crystal Phoenix Demon Emperor had then found an opportunity to ascend, ultimately becoming an emperor. This illustrated the importance of reaching the finals of the Ancestral Court Elite competition. It meant these competitors were recognized to have the most basic qualifications to reach that level. Before coming to the Ancestral Court, Big Cat never imagined he could even participate, much less reach the finals in such a competition. He had heard legends about the Ancestral Court Elite competition when he was in Kali City. At that time, he was almost invincible in the Great Beast Fighting Arena, and some of the more experienced demons had told him that truly strong ones did not stay in the Great Beast Fighting Arena of their cities, or even the Ancestral Courts, but went to participate in the Elite competition. That was the true pinnacle tournament of the Demon Continent. But back then, he had not resolved his bloodline conflict issue and had not even dared to think about participating. As his bloodline advanced to the first tier, he truly saw an opportunity. And now that he was able to accompany Azura here, now that he not only participated in the competition but simply plowed through his opponents, he realized that this was a truly new starting point in his life, and a new beginning for the Lion Tiger clan. By entering the top 16, his initial task was completed. He had proven his potential to the Lion and Tiger races. After all, besides him, no other Lion or Tiger demon contestant had made it to the top 16. The top 16 was almost exclusively the stage for the descendants of emperors, those from clans with an emperor, or even actual progeny of an emperor. This time, he, Tang San, and Mei Gongzi were the only 3 contestants who were not descendants of emperors. Therefore, he could be truly proud of himself. From now on, every victory in a match would be a significant step forward. He even hoped that he might encounter Tang San or Mei Gongzi early, so at least one of them could make it to the top 8 or even the top 4. Through this competition, he saw Tang San's strength even more clearly. He believed his own progress was already fast, but Tang San seemed to progress even faster. Even the princess of the Peacock Demon Clan was the same. These past few days he had rested well and had basically mastered the god-killing domain. Having a domain ability was the symbol of a demon king, yet he already had his own domain. How could this not excite him? Therefore, he was eagerly looking forward to this competition. He also wanted to see if he could continue to advance in the final stage. He had just tried to contact Tang San using the communicator but had not received a response. He didn't know if Tang San hadn't set out yet or what the situation was. Mei Gongzi also hadn't arrived yet, or at least he hadn't seen her. Today was the first day of the final stage of the individual competition, with a total of 8 matches, meaning the top 16 would be narrowed down to 8. It was still an elimination tournament, with the winners advancing. Naturally, being late resulted in an automatic forfeit. Big Cat did not choose to rest in his own room but stood at the entrance, eagerly waiting for Tang San's arrival. Having reached the final stage, he felt both excited and a bit uneasy. Azura was his anchor. With him present, Big Cat's confidence and fighting spirit were more robust. At this moment, he saw Mei Gongzi's figure. Today, Mei Gongzi looked exceptionally stunning. She wore a silver-white long dress, with faint silver light rippling on it, displaying strange patterns. As she walked, it seemed as if she was traversing through the void, giving him an elusive feeling, as if she existed not only in this space but also roamed another dimension. This was not actually Mei Gongzi's ability, but rather an effect of her long dress. Clearly, the dress was no ordinary item. Her black hair flowed down her back, and the silver dress added to her noble aura, making her beautiful like the radiant moon. She also wore a silver crown, with a bright silver gem in the center that shone brilliantly, emanating strong spatial fluctuations. It seemed as if an invisible layer of spatial power enveloped her whole body. Big Cat blinked, feeling a sudden bitter taste in his heart. There was no doubt that Mei Gongzi's attire was not just for appearance. It was a symbol of wealth and the profound heritage of the Peacock Demon Clan. She looked beautiful, but beauty was one thing and the fact that every item she wore was a top-tier artifact was another thing altogether. Coupled with the celestial plume she had used before, which was a bona fide divine item, she was armed to the teeth for the finals. Indeed, the Peacock Demon clan did not have a demon emperor, but in terms of wealth, they were not inferior to any other clan. Since she had reached the finals, the Peacock Great Demon King had every justification to bring out these treasures of the Peacock Demon clan for her to wear. Mei Gongxi's attire exuded grand nobility, coupled with the intimidating presence of formidable equipment. At this moment, Mei Gongxi noticed Big Cat. It seemed that the marvelous equipment she wore had no impact on her behavior. With a flash of silver light, she immediately teleported in front of him. "Big Cat, where's my big brother? Has he arrived?" Big Cat was stunned for a moment and said, "No, I haven't seen him and I can't reach him." A trace of anxiety flashed in Mei Gongxi's eyes. "I can't reach him either. He said he would be in seclusion for 2 days. I hope nothing's wrong." As she spoke, she tried to contact Tang San again with the communicator, but there was still no response. "How about I go look for him? Let me go."
I'm faster.
With that, the silver patterns on her dress rippled, and the next instant, she was gone. After a dozen teleportations, she appeared outside the White Tiger Hotel. Although most guests had gone to the Ancestral Court Square to watch the matches, there were still staff members at the White Tiger Hotel. When she appeared at the hotel entrance in her splendid attire, the guards were stunned. With her silver crown and dress, Mei Gongxi looked like a goddess descending upon the earth. Mei Gongxi, however, didn't pay attention to them and directly entered the lobby. As soon as she entered, someone exclaimed in surprise, "Princess." Mei Gongxi was about to teleport directly to Tang San's room, but stopped when she heard the call. Turning her head, she saw an unfamiliar face. "Do I know you?" Mei Gongxi asked with a frown. Su Xiren replied respectfully, "I am Su Xiren from the Etherhorn Merchant Association. I have seen your highness before at a celebration. You seem to be looking for something. Might I ask what it is?" "I am looking for Azura. Have you seen him?" Su Xiren smiled wryly and said, "I am also here to wait for him. Actually, Brother Azura is a great friend of our association. With the finals approaching, we have brought some medicines for him to use during the competition." "He hasn't come out?" Not yet. The competition is about to start. Maybe he has already gone to the venue?" "No, that is where I'm coming from, and he is not there." Su Xiren felt just as anxious as Mei Gongxi. Azura had already entered the top 16, and in his mind, Azura's status was no longer just that of a business collaborator. He was well aware of what entering the top 16 meant. The Peacock Great Demon King had already sent people several times to ask for information about Azura, indicating that the young man was far more. However, he hadn't expected that the princess, the heir to the clan leader, would personally come to find Azura. Considering that Azura participated in the pair competition with her, his status in Su Xiren's mind rose once more. "Anyway, let me check what's going on," Mei Gongxi said, and with a flash of silver light, she disappeared again. When she reappeared, she was in Tang San's room. At that moment, waves of dragon roars surged, and Mei Gongxi felt a mighty surge of bloodline power rushing toward her. Roar. A grand dragon's roar burst forth, and the door to the cultivation room suddenly opened. She saw a figure about to step outside. "Big brother," Mei Gongxi called out instinctively. The figure inside sensed her presence and immediately stopped. A hurried voice said, "Don't come over. I'm not dressed." Mei Gongxi's steps stopped abruptly, and her face flushed. But she didn't have to wait long. A few seconds later, Azura walked out of the cultivation room. His clothes were very much on, and the mask still covered half of his face. How did he get dressed that quickly? Oh, right, he probably just didn't have his mask on. Mei Gongxi immediately understood and realized what she had missed. If she had been a step quicker, she might have seen his true face. She felt a pang of regret and couldn't help but scold him. "The competition is about to start. Why haven't you left yet?" Tang San smiled wryly and said, "I didn't expect it to take this long either." Indeed, he had encountered some issues during cultivation. It wasn't that something went wrong, but rather, some strange changes occurred after integrating the Wind Dragon imprint. As he controlled the Golden Rock imprint to gradually devour the Wind Dragon imprint, the Golden Rock imprint underwent many strange changes, increasing in size until it was even larger than the Lion Tiger one. The energy it emitted caused Tang San's body to transform. The Wind Dragon bloodline seemed to have a strange compatibility with Tang San himself. After merging, the Golden Rock imprint, or rather the New Dragon Rock imprint, allowed him to undergo a complete rebirth. His body underwent a sort of cleansing which significantly enhanced his physique. And though he was a pure-blooded human, his bloodline aura had a touch of draconic energy added to it. Tang San's extensive cultivation experience allowed him to understand what was going on, more or less. Although he had been reincarnated into this world, completely losing his physical body, his divine consciousness from his previous life remained, and it subtly altered his current body. He was slowly awakening abilities from his past life, and it wasn't just those related to the mysterious heaven technique. In his previous life, he had many interactions with powerful dragons from that plane, and even his sons and grandsons acquired draconic bloodlines one way or another. Therefore, his own bloodline naturally had an affinity with dragon bloodlines. When he merged with dragon bloodlines, they offered him far more potent enhancements than other types of bloodlines. But if that was the case, could this be the reason behind the Crystal Demon Emperor seemingly favoring him and giving him crystalline? After his transformation, he needed to stabilize his condition. So, after washing up and changing clothes, he saw that it was still early and resumed meditating. Unexpectedly, he entered a deep meditation state, only waking up when he sensed the spatial changes outside. He might have missed today's match if it hadn't been for Mei Gongzi's arrival. He hadn't been wearing his mask earlier, so he used the excuse of not being dressed to buy himself some time. Seeing that Mei Gongzi understood, he chuckled and did not bother to offer further explanations. Let's hurry up and go. We can't miss the match. The most important thing today is the draw, right? Mei Gongzi rolled her eyes at him. Oh, so you didn't forget. Time was indeed of the essence, and she couldn't afford to complain about him hiding his face from her. A silver halo enveloped them as they began a series of teleportations. Ancestral Court Plaza. Staff had already come to notify them to prepare. For the draw, Big Cat anxiously waited. Tang San and Mei Gongzi hadn't returned yet. Not participating in the draw would mean forfeiting today's match and thus the qualification for the finals. What could he do? Please proceed to the draw. It is about to start, the staff urged again. The draw for the final stage was presided over by emperors, and no one could change the schedule. Big Cat gritted his teeth and was about to go when a flash of silver light appeared. Mei Gongzi, in her splendid attire, and Tang San, in white combat clothes, stood before him. Big Cat let out a sigh of relief. Damn, you made it just in time. Let's go. There was no time to say anything else. They had to go for the draw. Led by the staff, they walked along the corridor together. The other contestants were already waiting to draw lots. The draw was held in the VIP area. Today's VIP area had been altered. The original VIP seats were moved to the sides, while the center now featured 16 large VIP boxes, prepared for the 16 emperors. Not all emperors would come to watch the matches, but the seats had to be reserved. In front of the VIP boxes, a platform for drawing lots had been set up. Even before getting close, Tang San's heart trembled slightly as he looked towards the platform. On the draw platform stood a single figure. His presence alone attracted the attention of all the spectators and contestants. It was a young man who looked to be in his 20s, with deep blue eyes as profound as the ocean and long white hair flowing down his back all the way to his ankles. His appearance was extremely handsome, his skin like jade, and his whole being radiated a strange brilliance. A faint halo surrounded him, as if shielding him from the mortal dust. Around him, Tang San saw an overwhelming mass of fortune, as if he was the core of the entire world. The moment Tang San sensed the young man's presence, he instantly dissipated the polar domain he had activated within himself to enhance his fortune. This person was none other than the true ruler of the ancestral court, held in high regard by both the demon and the nymph races, the celestial fox demon emperor, the master of destiny. Only he could possess such overwhelming fortune. Only he could appear as if he were the core of the entire world. Tang San hadn't expected that this person would personally host the draw ceremony today. With him there, Tang San dared not use the discerning eye of heaven to increase his and his companion's luck. In front of this figure, any manipulation of fortune would be completely exposed. Tang San tried to keep his mind as calm as possible. His divine consciousness restrained to the absolute minimum, and his aura retracted. He slightly lowered his head, no longer looking at him, trying to minimize any presence in front of this emperor. In the finals, with the emperors watching, the risk for him obviously increased significantly. He wondered how the Crystal Demon Emperor would view him. Tang San suddenly had a thought. At this moment, the draw had already begun. The contestants who arrived before them were stepping up to the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor, drawing lots from the barrel. After drawing, they stood in line in front of him. Tang San and the other two arrived last, so naturally, they would be the last to draw. Mei Gongzi turned to him and asked, "Brother, are you a bit nervous?" Tang San forced a smile and said, "It's all right. I didn't expect His Majesty, the Master of Destiny, to personally oversee the draw." Mei Gongzi said in confusion, "It's always been this way. It's to ensure the fairness of the competition, to prevent any contestant from bribing the strong members of the Celestial Fox clan for fortune enhancement." Tang San suddenly understood. It was a tradition. However, in front of this particular Demon Emperor, he truly felt a bit nervous. He had faced several Demon Emperors before, but none put as much pressure on him as this one. Although it was said that the Celestial Fox clan had no real combat ability, that did not apply to this particular member. There was a reason he was second only to the Crystal Demon Emperor. Most importantly, when facing other emperors, Tang San was confident his secrets wouldn't be discovered, but in front of this Master of Destiny, he truly had no absolute assurance. The drawing proceeded quickly, and soon it was Big Cat's turn. He approached the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor and drew a lot. The Celestial Fox Demon Emperor gazed at him with calm and profound eyes, nodded slightly, and said, "The fate of your clan is changing because of you. Well done." No matter how rebellious Big Cat's personality was, he felt somewhat apprehensive at this moment and respectfully said, "Thank you for the encouragement, Your Majesty." The Celestial Fox Demon Emperor didn't speak further. Big Cat quickly took his lot and, without looking at it, moved to the side. Next, it was Mei Gongzi's turn. She approached the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor and drew a lot in a casual manner. The Celestial Fox Demon Emperor looked at her, a strange and mesmerizing light flashing in his eyes. Behind Mei Gongzi, Tang San tensed up instantly. Soon, however, the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor's gaze returned to normal. "I cannot yet see if destiny will reappear. If it does, the peacock will be reborn." His voice was only audible to Mei Gongzi, causing her to tremble slightly. She looked at the seemingly young man in front of her, who had actually been ruling the ancestral court for who knew how many years, and bowed slightly in respect. Mei Gongzi then went to line up, leaving Tang San as the last. With only one lot left in the barrel, Tang San stepped forward, drew it out, and also bowed slightly to the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor. The Celestial Fox Demon Emperor looked at him and slightly frowned. "You have received the crystal's approval?" "Yes," Tang San replied humbly. "It's been a long time." "Interesting," the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor said with a hint of a playful smile. After bowing again, Tang San quickly went to stand beside Mei Gongzi. Earlier, when he thought of the Crystal Demon Emperor, he suddenly came up with a way to conceal his aura. He infused his energy into the crystal mirror and drew out its aura, allowing it to subtly surround him. The Celestial Fox Demon Emperor might probe the human Azura, but would he probe a person with the aura of the Crystal Demon Emperor? It was normal for contestants in the top 16 to be favored by emperors. But the Crystal Demon Emperor was by far the foremost among them, and being chosen by it meant something truly special. Even the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor, the Master of Destiny, would hesitate to probe such a person too deeply. It turned out his judgment was correct. He clearly felt the divine consciousness of the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor sweep over him, and when it sensed the aura of the crystal mirror, it withdrew. Tang San had been ready to poke Crystalline awake if push came to shove. He didn't know exactly what Crystalline was, but she was definitely related to the Crystal Demon Emperor. Fortunately, the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor didn't seem to pay that much attention to him. In fact, Tang San had received the recognition of the Celestial Fox Sacred Mountain, though it wasn't directly from the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor himself. He could have used that token instead, but he preferred not to. The risk that came with it was too great. With the drawing over, he had passed this hurdle. Next was checking the lots they had drawn. Tang San had no more grand thoughts about it. After seeing the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor, he knew that he could only rely on his normal luck for the draw. It didn't matter who he faced. If he faced Mei Gongzi, he would just concede, letting her advance to the top 8. He could use their participation in the pair competition as an excuse. However, when the draw results were announced, Tang San was somewhat surprised. Had his luck turned around? The final draw results for the top 16 in the individual competition showed that he, Mei Gongzi, and Big Cat would each face different opponents. The 3 of them wouldn't meet in the first round. Tang San and Big Cat were placed in the first bracket, and luckily, even if they met, it would be after both entered the top 4, competing for a spot in the finals. Mei Gongzi, in the meantime, was in the second bracket. For Tang San or Big Cat to face her, they would have to reach the finals. Undoubtedly, this was the best possible draw for the three of them. After facing many strong opponents in the group stage and making progress at great expense, luck was finally on their side. Indeed, luck and misfortune are two sides of the same coin. After so much misfortune, luck would eventually come. Faced with such a droll result, the three of them were naturally overjoyed. As for the competition itself, it would begin directly. Today, the first of the three to compete was Big Cat. Big Cat would be competing in the first match, and his opponent was undoubtedly strong. Anyone who made it here could not possibly be weak. Tang San and Mei Gongzi returned to the resting area, which this time was arranged next to the VIP seats. They could clearly see the competition platform, allowing them to rest while watching the match. Big Cat, on the other hand, went straight to the waiting area to prepare for the first match. The Celestial Fox Demon Emperor returned to his box, which was the seventh from the left. The two central boxes were likely reserved for the Crystal Demon Emperor and the Sunborn Nymph Emperor, the strongest of the demon and nymph races. Big brother, our luck is really good today. The draw went well. If we can meet in the finals, that'll be great. Mei Gongzi was clearly excited. They were in different resting rooms but could of course talk through their communicators. Tang San replied, "Be cautious. The emperors are watching. Be prepared for the match." Today, there would be 4 matches in each bracket. Tang San would compete in the third match of the first and Mei Gongzi in the second match of the second. If Big Cat won today, he would face the winner of today's second match in the quarterfinals. If Tang San won, he would face the winner of the fourth match. In other words, they wouldn't face each other until the semifinals. Tang San didn't know how many emperors had come to watch today, and he didn't dare to use his divine consciousness to probe. But he guessed it wasn't just the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor. After all, besides the 3 of them, the rest were all descendants of living emperors. The first match of the final stage is about to begin. Contestants, please enter the stage. On the competition platform, a great Demon King referee was already standing. Judging by his features, he was from the Golden Mammoth clan. In the final stage, referees on the platform would always be ready to stop the match at any time. Since those who made it to the finals were the prodigies of their respective clans, they couldn't afford any loss of life. No contestants had ever died in the final stage of the Ancestral Court Elite competition. Big Cat stepped onto the competition platform from one side, dressed no differently from what he wore during the group stage. However, when his opponent stepped onto the platform, he immediately seemed a bit shabby in comparison. There was no helping it. The Lion Tiger clan was just poor. They didn't even have proper weapons made by a good craftsman, let alone divine artifacts. In contrast, his opponent could be described as armed to the teeth. When his opponent first appeared, Big Cat couldn't even recognize its race. It was a 3-meter-tall, sturdy figure, entirely encased in heavy armor. The armor was adorned with many gemstones, radiating multicolored brilliance. The weapon in its hand was a 5-meter-long spear, emitting a chilling aura, clearly not an ordinary item. During the draw, this opponent had not been wearing this equipment. Now that it was fully armored, Big Cat had to carefully examine it and, taking into account its build, finally recognized his opponent. It was a strong contestant from the Solstice Empire's nymph race, also a descendant of a current emperor. That emperor had cultivated into a nymph from a piece of glazed glass, ultimately sitting upon an emperor's throne. It was known as the 1,000-faceted glazed glass nymph emperor. Glazed glass was a very peculiar gem with a translucent luster. A nymph born from glazed glass had the innate ability to reflect various attacks. Although not all abilities could be reflected, it was still very powerful. The combat style of the glazed glass nymph emperor was also highly unpredictable, hence the title 1,000-faceted. Naturally, they were very difficult to deal with. Among the nymph emperors, the glazed glass nymph emperor was ranked 5th. The opponent in front of him, having made it to the finals, was clearly not an easy opponent. Moreover, the richest clan among the nymphs was the Glazed Glass clan, and there was a good reason for that. This clan had yet another incredible innate ability: discovering mineral deposits. The largest coin manufacturing factory on the Demon Continent belonged to the Glazed Glass clan. Therefore, it was no surprise they had vast resources. The extravagant attire of the opponent before him was, of course, nothing more than a display of immense wealth. The Skyway Merchant Association of the Solstice Empire, which Tang San had encountered before and where Fatball made the business calls, was backed by the Glazed Glass clan. Faced with such a well-funded opponent, Big Cat's pupils contracted. He instantly raised his guard. Even without considering his opponent's innate abilities, the equipment alone was formidable, likely imbued with various powers, making this opponent very tricky to handle. Big Cat of the Lion Tiger clan from Kali City versus Gulan of the Glazed Glass clan from Glazed City. The match begins. In the final stage, they finally announced the names. Clearly, they were taken much more seriously than in the group stage. After announcing the start of the match, the Great Demon King referee retreated to the edge of the platform, activated a shield ability of sorts, and proceeded to observe the contestants. The final stage competition stage was much larger than the previous ones, with a diameter of 500 meters. The opponents appeared as nothing more than small dots, requiring focused vision to see clearly. Such a large arena provided ample space for combat. Big Cat took a deep breath and let out a thunderous roar, his body rapidly expanding. In an instant, he transformed into a giant warrior over 5 meters tall. Striding toward his opponent, a Jiyulan of the Glazed Glass clan raised its spear, gripping it by the middle with its right hand. Its body glowed with a strange light, and in the next instant, the spear was thrown, flickering in the air before disappearing into thin air. Big Cat immediately felt an overwhelming sense of danger enveloping him. What was this vanishing trick? Big Cat didn't dare to be careless. He raised his heavy sword, releasing Lion Tiger Golden Force, and dazzling white light burst from his body. In the next instant, his pupils contracted, and he slashed out fiercely with his sword. With a resounding clang, Lion Tiger Golden Force erupted and the spear was blasted back. But at the same time, Big Cat felt as if he had been struck by lightning, and his entire body was paralyzed. Currents of electricity coursed through him. At that moment, Gulan pressed a silver gem on its helmet, and in the next instant, it teleported near Big Cat, catching the spear midair and charging at Big Cat like lightning. Big Cat was paralyzed, but the powerful properties of Lion Tiger Golden Force allowed him to recover quickly. As Gulan's spear neared his chest, a fierce light burst from Big Cat's eyes, and he swung his heavy sword upward, unleashing more Lion Tiger Golden Force. Both retreated simultaneously. Big Cat fell into paralysis again, but his opponent was also affected. The powerful repellent force of Lion Tiger Golden Force blasted it back over 10 meters, and its arms were numb. The strike was not just Big Cat's own strength, but also the power absorbed from the previous collision. Combined with the repellent effect of Lion Tiger Golden Force, the explosive power was quite formidable. However, Gulan's recovery appeared to be significantly faster than Big Cat's, and moreover, its armor absorbed most of the impact. The lightning spear in its hand flew out again, heading straight for Big Cat's chest. The lightning spear's paralyzing ability was just too strong. Even with the formidable Lion Tiger Golden Force, Big Cat couldn't defend against it before, and this time was no different. Moreover, the lightning spear would disappear upon release, turning into a flash of lightning that struck instantly. Big Cat raised his heavy sword horizontally, his blood and energy surging as he forcefully resisted. Clang! He staggered back, his body paralyzed once again. After clashing with the lightning spear 3 times, the paralysis was getting worse and worse. Although he hadn't paid special attention to this opponent before, Big Cat was pretty damn sure that no one had used such a weapon in previous matches. The fact that it was able to deal so much damage to him meant that it was likely a divine artifact. Gulan pressed the silver gem again, and when it reappeared, it was already behind Big Cat. Clenched its fists and struck Big Cat's back with both fists at once. Lion Tiger Golden Force erupted with a powerful repellent force, but strangely, the incandescent astral energy that hit Gulan's armor instantly turned transparent. The white light rebounded exactly as it touched the armor, reflecting back onto Big Cat. With a muffled groan, Big Cat was sent flying by the blow. The Glazed Glass clan's innate ability, Reflection. At this moment, a yellow gem on Gulan's right arm flashed. The lightning spear, which had been knocked into the air by Big Cat, suddenly plummeted as if drawn by a powerful force, descending straight toward Big Cat. The entire process was incredibly fast and flowed smoothly like water. Big Cat's Lion Tiger Golden Force was powerful, but the paralysis caused by the lightning spear was too severe. This time, he didn't dare to take it head-on. Enduring the surging blood within his body, he stomped his right foot and dashed out at an angle. The yellow gem on Gulan's right arm glowed even brighter. It suddenly swung its arm, guiding the lightning spear to change direction and chase after Big Cat. At the same time, Its armor emitted a glassy luster once more. Some kind of energy erupted from its back, propelling it like a multicolored cannonball toward Big Cat. There was no way to dodge anymore. The lightning spear was too fast. Helpless, Big Cat had to slash out with his heavy sword again, deflecting the lightning spear. But in the next moment, Gulan collided with him from the side, sending him flying. In his paralyzed state, even his lion-tiger golden force couldn't fully protect him, and this blow made him spit blood. Any spectator could see that Big Cat was at a significant disadvantage in terms of equipment. His opponent, relying solely on its armor and lightning spear combined with the Glazed Glass Clan's innate ability, suppressed him so much that he couldn't exert his full strength. Big brother, at this rate, Big Cat might lose. His equipment is really... We should have gotten him some better gear from father before the match. No, that would be a mistake. This is his inevitable path. By this point, all the clans are fully supporting their contestants who made it this far. No, he should face this battle as it is. If he can win under these circumstances, then the lion and tiger races will have to respond, whether they like it or not. After this match, we can approach them. Mei Gongzi was taken aback. You think Big Cat can win? At this moment, Big Cat was being completely suppressed on the stage, repeatedly knocked away by Gulan. His lion-tiger golden force was becoming erratic, clearly at a disadvantage against the opponent's own innate ability. Tang San gave her a light smile. Just watch. Big Cat is a seasoned warrior. His fighting spirit is strong and he won't be easily defeated. In terms of equipment, he's certainly not on par with his opponent. But the biggest problem for the Glazed Glass Clan contestant is its lack of explosive power. As long as it can't defeat Big Cat in one shot, Big Cat still has a chance. The situation on the field was indeed very unfavorable for Big Cat, and he was being suppressed. However, Tang San had a clear understanding of Big Cat's resilience and fighting spirit. To think he would lose just because he was being suppressed would be a grave mistake. Gulan of the Glazed Glass Clan had top-grade equipment and innate abilities. It had numerous combat techniques and it could suppress Big Cat. However, its explosive power was lacking. The Glazed Glass Clan's innate ability was passive, reflecting the opponent's abilities only when attacked. The rest depended entirely on the equipment. The lightning spear was indeed powerful, and the armor too. Even if they weren't divine artifacts, they were close. The lightning spear, in particular, could penetrate even the first-tier bloodline's lion-tiger golden force. However, it lacked the explosive power to break through Big Cat's powerful defense and force him to concede, let alone take him out in one blow. Big Cat was steadily retreating. For every successful block, he was hit a few times. But he focused on avoiding a direct hit from the lightning spear, knowing that even the lion-tiger golden force couldn't prevent its paralyzing effects. A direct hit would be disastrous. Gulan's attacks were relentless, with its armor continuously converting its energy into various elemental attributes to empower its attacks on Big Cat and assist the lightning spear. The yellow light from its right hand guided the spear, allowing it to strike from tricky angles, making defense difficult. Big Cat's scattered lion-tiger golden force could barely defend. From a visual standpoint, it seemed only a matter of time before his defenses were completely breached. In the VIP seats, the powerful Golden Lion Clan and Golden Tiger Clan members frowned. They could see Big Cat being suppressed, and they were well aware that this was only happening due to his inferior equipment. Ji Yulan relied solely on its reflection ability to contend with Big Cat, but the Lion-Tiger Golden Force had not only repulsion but also absorption. The absorption ability could counter the Glazed Glass Clan's ability to some extent. If Big Cat didn't attack directly, he could absorb Gulan's bloodline power and strike at empty space, continuously depleting Gulan's bloodline. What then? The problem was that Gulan's equipment was so overwhelmingly superior that Big Cat couldn't even reach Gulan and use the absorption effect directly. The leader of the Golden Lion Clan was in the VIP seats, watching this scene with a flickering gaze, his broad lion paws opening and closing restlessly. Big Cat was knocked flying again, spitting out another mouthful of blood. The heavy sword in his hand was already covered in chips and scratches from the continuous collisions. The lightning spear not only had a strong paralyzing effect but was also extremely sharp. This was why Big Cat didn't dare let it pierce him. This time, Gulan did not pursue him. It had realized its problem. Despite appearing to have the upper hand in a series of attacks, it could clearly feel that its opponent, though steadily retreating, was not panicking in the slightest. Moreover, the Lion-Tiger Golden Force gave him incredible toughness. Despite Big Cat spitting blood multiple times, it was clear he hadn't sustained any critical injuries. Meanwhile, Gulan's own bloodline power consumption was not insignificant. It had to use bloodline power to activate its equipment, after all. As expected of someone able to enter the finals, its strength and combat experience were undoubtedly substantial. During the group stage, it used the capabilities of its armor with exceptional skill. And the lightning spear in its hand, the Eye of the Thunder God, was indeed a divine artifact. Of course, divine artifacts had different levels, and the Eye of the Thunder God was not nearly as powerful as Mei Gongzi's celestial plume, but it was still a divine artifact. Its paralyzing lightning effect had a defense-ignoring property. While not an absolute defense bypass, it rendered most defenses ineffective. Gulan had only revealed this divine artifact upon entering the finals today, aiming to swiftly advance to the top 8. When Gulan drew Big Cat as its opponent, it was quite excited. Big Cat was one of the rare contestants in the top 16 without any backing. Although he had shown considerable strength in previous matches, he lacked wide-range attack capabilities and divine artifacts, making him one of the easiest opponents in the finals. But what Gulan didn't expect was the sheer strength of Big Cat's Lion Tiger Golden Force's defense and resilience. Despite Gulan having the upper hand, it continuously took minor injuries, which were slowly draining its bloodline power. This couldn't continue. Otherwise, it'd risk being counterattacked and losing everything. Realizing its predicament, Gulan decisively stopped. It grasped the Eye of the Thunder God in its right hand, and the gemstones on its armor lit up one by one. Its massive bloodline power surged, infusing the Eye of the Thunder God, causing golden lightning to flicker around it. At the center of the Eye of the Thunder God, right where Gulan held it, was a gemstone, the core of the artifact. The name Eye of the Thunder God actually referred to this gemstone. It was said that an extraordinary divine lightning had been sealed in this stone by the power of an emperor, and the stone was then set into the shaft of this spear. As bloodline energy poured into the gemstone, more and more power accumulated into the spear. Dazzling lightning illuminated Gulan's translucent armor, making it shimmer brilliantly. One good thing about being knocked back was that Big Cat had a little time to get himself together. Gulan's pause gave him a chance to catch his breath, and he made sure to use it. New York now, he had somewhat recovered from the paralysis. He didn't counterattack while Gulan was gathering energy. Instead, he took a deep breath and stabilized his Lion Tiger Golden Force. But deep in his eyes, a hint of red appeared, filled with murderous intent. Gulan kept its eyes fixed on Big Cat, not worried about an attack at this moment. If Big Cat attacked, it would just mean an even better opportunity. Its innate reflection ability would suppress its opponent, allowing it to unleash the full power of the Eye of the Thunder God and end the match. But Big Cat didn't attack. Instead, he was also gathering his strength just like Gulan. Gulan knew it couldn't delay any longer. When it saw the hint of red in his opponent's eyes, it felt a sense of unease. The Eye of the Thunder God had now transformed into what seemed like a bolt of pure lightning, emitting blinding golden flashes.
Gulan shouted, "Die."
The Eye of the Thunder God in his hand vanished, and the next moment, a massive bolt of lightning appeared before Big Cat. At that moment, he saw the blood-red light in Big Cat's eyes suddenly burst forth. When Gulan saw the sudden surge of blood-red light, its heart seemed to skip a beat, as it was momentarily dazed by its opponent's imposing presence. The lock on Big Cat that the Eye of the Thunder God had was broken. Big Cat's figure flickered strangely. The Eye of the Thunder God seemed to pierce him clean through, but then the impaled figure dissipated. The real Big Cat had already dashed toward Gulan at lightning speed. He had dodged. He had actually dodged it. Throughout the prolonged battle, Gulan had repeatedly used the lightning spear to attack Big Cat, while the latter had always tried to block it rather than dodge, making it seem like he lacked the speed to evade the Eye of the Thunder God. Yet when Gulan unleashed its strongest strike, Big Cat managed to dodge. Even before the red light appeared in his eyes, his body had already moved instinctively. The strange steps left behind multiple afterimages, and the only thing pierced was a shadow. The Eye of the Thunder God, having lost its spiritual lock-on, could no longer continue to pursue him. Blinding red light suddenly erupted from Big Cat, and in the next moment he was in front of Gulan. Gulan quickly raised its hand and pressed the silver gemstone on its armor, intending to teleport and retrieve the Eye of the Thunder God. But Big Cat had been waiting for this moment for too long. How could he let Gulan escape just like that? A massive lion-tiger beast silhouette emerged behind Big Cat. As this roar echoed out, terrifying red light enveloped the entire battlefield, including Gulan. Gulan felt an intense, Frenzied, icy killing intent hit its heart, causing its movements to slow down involuntarily. Meanwhile, Big Cat's speed surged again. His heavy sword, imbued with lion-tiger golden force, came crashing down with unstoppable ferocity. At the critical moment, Gulan instantly activated its innate ability, and a halo of glazed luster burst out. The Glazed Glass Clan's bloodline was rated as first tier precisely because of its reflection ability. No matter how strong the attack, it would be reflected with equal strength. Even if the Glazed Glass Nymph was injured, the opponent had to consider whether they could withstand the same injury. Gulan was struck by the sword head-on and sent flying. The silver gemstone on his armor was also struck off. Big Cat was hit by the reflected power and also sent flying, spewing a mouthful of blood. Gulan bore the brunt of the attack, but its armor mitigated most of it. Big Cat, lacking such defense, could only use his bloodline power to absorb a small part of it. The impact still struck him hard. Gulan spat out a small mouthful of blood, both shocked and furious. The silver gemstone that enabled it to teleport was no longer usable, and repairing the armor would be quite costly. It was also injured by Big Cat's powerful strike, which had penetrated the armor's defense. Much of the Lion-Tiger Golden Force had been stopped by the armor, but a good part of it still impacted Gu Lan. Yulan was injured, but Big Cat's rebound injuries had to be much worse. Such a frenzied attack was suicidal. Just as Gulan thought this, it saw Big Cat land. Blood sprayed from his mouth for who knew how manyth time. Yet he was already charging again. The incandescent light on his heavy sword was only growing brighter, and the blood red in his eyes deepened. The blood aura covering the battlefield around them grew even more intense. Is he crazy? He didn't even take the time to breathe and steady himself. This is suicidal. Gulan was shocked and hastily activated its bloodline power, using its reflection ability once more. Both were sent flying again. A crack appeared in Gulan's armor, and Big Cat spat out blood yet again. The backlash was so strong that his right hand was split open, and blood was flowing freely. However, the moment Big Cat landed, he bounced up again, shifting the heavy sword into his left hand. With a fierce swing, he charged at his opponent once more. These clashes were undoubtedly brutal, but precisely for that reason, the spectators were absolutely thrilled. It was ferocious, truly ferocious. Meanwhile, Tang San's eyes showed a hint of admiration as he softly said to Mei Gongzi, "Big Cat has won." Indeed, when Big Cat dodged the critical strike from the eye of the Thunder God, Tang San knew his comrade was going to win. In this match, Big Cat's victory wasn't due to sheer strength but experience. Rich battle experience. He made use of every single little opportunity to turn the tide and achieve victory. Had it been a battle of pure strength and bloodline abilities, Big Cat could still have won, although it would have been a difficult match. He had an advantage in that the Lion-Tiger Golden Force was able to counter the reflection ability to some extent. But Gulan also had its armor and a true divine weapon. The poorly equipped Big Cat stood practically no chance in a clash like that. Therefore, Big Cat chose another path. When Big Cat sensed the formidable threat of the Eye of the Thunder God, he chose to endure. He used the Lion-Tiger Golden Force more for defense than offense. This was why Gulan felt it had been suppressing its opponent yet at the same time couldn't truly deal a critical blow to Big Cat. The Glazed Glass Nymph Emperor was known for its manifold abilities, hence the title of Thousand-Faceted, and its descendants naturally inherited its combat style. But as Big Cat stood on passive defense, letting himself be pushed back by the opponent, he carefully observed Gulan's fighting style. Just as Tang San had pointed out to Mei Gongzi, Big Cat realized that while his opponent's weapon and strength were formidable, they lacked the overwhelming explosive power to deliver a decisive blow. This made him more determined to endure and continuously withstand his opponent's attacks in order to wear it down. It was painful, and this time his injuries were in no way an act. He was indeed badly hurt, but Big Cat also discovered two things in the process. First, each time he got hurt, his killing intent grew stronger. Second, under the stimulation, his physical strength and bloodline power increased. As his bloodline power was forcefully activated beyond its limits, his recovery rate also increased. This was the inherent effect of the god-killing domain. With this realization, Big Cat felt more confident. He thus grit his teeth and endured until his opponent sensed something was wrong and decided to end it all in one full power strike. By then, his god-killing domain had long been ready to erupt. When the Eye of the Thunder God burst forth, his killing intent surged, forcibly severing Gulan's connection to its weapon. While Big Cat couldn't handle the eye of the Thunder God directly, he managed to disrupt Gulan's connection to it. His strange footwork, naturally, came from Tang San's teachings. Ghost Shadow Perplexing Track. His rich combat experience told him that baiting his opponent into launching an all-out strike was the best opportunity for him, and his decision turned out to be the perfect one. In an instant, he turned the tables, preventing his opponent from reclaiming the eye of the Thunder God or teleporting away. What followed was a head-on clash, which was Big Cat's forte. Though his opponent had strong defenses and therefore fared somewhat better when they collided, each time Big Cat took a severe rebound hit, his god-killing domain only grew stronger. Outwardly, it suppressed his opponent. Inwardly, it stimulated his own potential. Thus, each of his attacks grew heavier and fiercer. He wasn't thinking about how he would handle the next match if he was severely injured. His only focus was on winning this fight. Driven by the killing intent swirling in his heart, he saw only the opponent in front of him. Each strike of his heavy sword was stronger than the last. On the sixth clash, where both sides were grievously injured, Big Cat's heavy sword could no longer withstand the intense impact and shattered into pieces, leaving a deep wound on his shoulder. But he did not stop attacking. Now that he had no weapon, he resorted to his fists. Gulan was completely stunned by its opponent's relentless attacks. Its valuable armor was now heavily damaged, while its opponent, who looked like a blood-soaked monster, continued his frenzied assault. The armor's defensive power was waning and Gulan's injuries were worsening. Yet its opponent's attacks grew increasingly fierce and relentless. Seeing Big Cat's ferocious face, Gulan finally began to feel fear. It could feel cracks forming in its glazed glass body, and the effectiveness of its reflection ability was diminishing. The glazed glass nymph's ability required their body to be intact for optimal performance. Once a gemstone is cracked, it's no longer valuable. Gulan's power waned, allowing more of its opponent's attacks to strike true. This guy is a lunatic. Both were once again blasted apart by the rebound. This time, the glow of Gulan's armor had completely dimmed. Big Cat's tiger claws had torn open gashes on its chest, exposing the translucent flesh beneath. Meanwhile, Big Cat's already injured right hand was completely fractured due to the reflection ability. And yet he did not stop. As soon as he landed, he didn't even stop to catch his breath before charging again. Now with his left paw. The madness in his attack sent a wave of bloodthirsty aura straight to Gulan's mind. The intense killing intent finally touched the most cowardly part of Gulan's heart.
İsürenir,
Gulang sao tét.
The referee, a great demon king who had been waiting nearby, immediately stepped in. With a wave of his hands, a gentle force wrapped around Big Cat, pulling him aside and neutralizing the attack. Gulan collapsed to the ground, gasping for air. In terms of injuries, he was definitely not doing anywhere near as bad as Big Cat, but that was irrelevant. His spirit was broken. At the same time, Big Cat's right hand and forearm were fractured. He had 6 or 7 broken ribs in his chest, severe internal injuries, and his eyes were completely bloodshot. His body was drenched in his own blood, but his ferocious aura had only intensified. As Tang San had predicted, the god-killing domain in the hands of a true warrior like Big Cat was much like the proverbial wings given to a tiger. This was Big Cat's first time using the god-killing domain on the battlefield, and yet he was instantly able to make best use of it. He didn't let the god-killing domain explode immediately. Instead, he let it simmer within, constantly stimulating himself and making his body stronger under the influence of the killing intent. This allowed him to endure until now, pushing his opponent to the brink with sheer killing intent. The referee Great Demon King personally supported Big Cat, raising his still intact left hand high. Big Cat of the Lion Tiger clan wins. He didn't even bother to look at Gulan. A contestant who showed cowardice and didn't fight to the end was not worth his attention.